For as long as Naruto Uzumaki could remember, his life had been a complete nightmare. He had been hated and vilified by the villagers in the place where he lived, and that was the village hidden in the leaves. Naruto had always wondered why it was that he could not ever find any acknowledgement in his hometown, which was also the reason for him playing the various pranks that he played. The villagers always called him a demon. He always assumed that this was because of the numerous pranks he had played in the past. He had played pranks on the Uchiha clan, and the Hyuga clan and numerous other clans in Konoha had been struck by the maelstrom that he was. Naruto was proud of his pranking. He was certainly able to outrun many of the villagers and the ninjas, and the situation was so bad that they had to send experienced Anbu to catch him, and yet he would manage escaping most of the time. However, this was not one of the times, but this was also not one of the times which Naruto had played a prank. This was just another day for Naruto. However, the reason why he was in the predicament he was in was lost to him. He could not for the life of him explain why there was a mob of at least 20 Konoha civilians who were now surrounding him, with murderous looks in their eyes, the same way they had looked at him for as long as Naruto could remember. This was certainly not good news for him. He would sure be sore in the morning tomorrow. That was another thing that Naruto could never explain. No matter what happened, he never got sick, or why any wound that was ever inflicted on him by the villagers would ever stay. They would heal almost instantly, but today it looked like the wounds were going to stay for a long time. Naruto gulped. This was not good. He almost considered apologizing to the civilians, but he could not speak. He couldn't even move, and the expression on his face was one of sheer terror. It looked like Naruto would die young at the age of 6. Look at the demon, one of the civilians, Naruto couldn't tell who, sneered. There were nods of agreement in the group upon hearing this. Some of them were smiling. Yeah, he thinks with that expression on his face he can actually manage to fool us and extract some sympathy from us, but the demon is wrong, the civilian sneered, while Naruto took a step back. However, the narrow alleyway in which they had cornered him was not too receptive to this. He realized that he had just stepped into a wall. There was nowhere he could go now. This demon deserves to die, said another person, and yet to Naruto it seemed as though everyone was saying it. The voices were echoing and Naruto felt something inexplicable setting in. His heart tensed and his muscles seized up. He couldn't even breathe anymore. It was almost as if time had stopped. Naruto began feeling something burning in his eyes, while one or two civilians seemed to notice the change in him. They stepped back but shrugged it off as they began closing in again. Naruto shut his eyes as they seemed to burn even more now. Naruto's mindscape. At first all Naruto could smell was the sewers and nothing more. It almost smelled like the dank underground of Konoha did. Actually, it smelled exactly like that. Where am I? He wondered aloud, as he began fumbling in the darkness looking for a source of light that would tell him where he was better than he could right now, and yet he couldn't find any. Come closer, a voice seemed to call him, and Naruto had no other choice but to follow it. It was like he could not refuse the voice. It was filled with intent and sounded really menacing, almost as though not following it would kill him. He moved in the direction of the seal before coming across a giant cage with 9 bars and a center which was circular with the kanji 4 seal engraved on it. "Do what the dash," he said to no one in particular. "The eyes," the voice said, clearly coming from beyond that cage. "Those eyes, I don't recall you having those eyes," the voice said, the menacing tone gone, replaced completely with a curious one. It was as though the voice was interested in him, and Naruto did not like it one bit. And then it was as though the voice had all his doubts answered. Of course, Kushina was an Uzumaki, that explains it seemed to say, and this caused Naruto to look at him with interest now. It was as though someone had hit him with the stomach. Kushina was an Uzumaki? That meant there had to be another family member existing somewhere. "Who are you?" he asked, looking in the direction of the voice, and it had taken more courage than one could think was possible for a 6-year-old boy to possess. The voice behind the bars seemed to laugh as suddenly the whole cage began illuminating. Slowly light began creeping in and Naruto could see that the thing had tails, actually 9 of them, and he looked like a fox. "A K-cubed," he said, stammering, as the voice began laughing in earnest. It was really dreadful. The whole place seemed to reek of evil forces while Naruto began thinking he might just pee himself. "As brave as your father, eh? Naruto Uzumaki, you also seem as feisty as your mother," the voice said, laughing. The laugh was less evil and seemed more jovial and genuine. "Those eyes? What eyes are you talking about?" Naruto asked the Kyuubi no Yoko, straightening and summoning some more of that courage, all the while cursing himself for being so foolish. However, the voice did not seem offended. The color of your eyes seems off though, it mused, while Naruto Uzumaki was trying to feel his eyes. As far as he could tell, the only thing that he found different was he seemed to see more clearly. You know my parents? He asked the fox when he sensed that it had finished laughing. Naruto felt more comfortable by the second as the killing intent had all but disappeared. The fox nodded. Yes, I do know of your parents, boy. Why, it was your father who put me in this god-forsaken place behind bars, the voice said as Naruto suddenly realized something. It had been the Yondaime Hokage that had defeated the fox that had attacked Konoha all those years ago, so maybe the fox was saying the Yondaime Hokage was his father? Yes, the fox said, reading Naruto's mind apparently. Although the bastard Yondaime did not kill me like some of you insolent whelps seem to believe, he merely sealed me into the body of his own son, the fox said, coming closer to Naruto, so much so that they were face to face, or at least face to Naruto's entire body. He finished, causing Naruto to gulp. Why you mean that the Yondaime is my father, and I have a demon inside me, is that why the villagers dashed? He trailed off, tearing up with every word he spoke before he began crying. The crying seemed to set off a chain reaction in the whole place, as bits of the roof seemed to be falling off the roof of the cage the fox was trapped in. My father did not love me, he said, while crying at the same time. He began moving towards the seal. The villagers hate me, he said, with a bit more venom in his voice. I'll show them, he said as he ran towards the circular compartment where seal was engraved. Now kid, wait 1 second, the fox called out to him, but Naruto was blinded by rage and pulled off the seal. Naruto, the voice called out to him, much calmer than the one before, not even a quarter as rough as the fox's voice. Naruto, come here, the voice called out to him again. The whole place was covered in bright light, and Naruto was awestruck at what he was seeing. Standing in front of him was a tall blonde man. The resemblance was uncanny and eerie. It almost looked like it was a grown-up version of himself. The man was wearing a long cloak which had a Yondaime Hokage written on it. Naruto realized who it was. He said, causing the Hokage to smile. It was just like Naruto's smiles, but Naruto did not know that. Yes, it's your father. Before he could finish the sentence, however, he was punched in the stomach by Naruto, which knocked the wind out of him and brought him to his knees. The man got up and smiled. I deserved that, he said, causing Naruto to get a funny look on his face, one of extreme puzzlement. It also seemed to calm him down. Why? Naruto asked him. The man smiled. It was unfair, wasn't it? Why I had to seal the damn fox in you, but Naruto, there was no way to beat him. The only way I could have done it was by sealing it in someone. However, I couldn't just go and ask for a baby. It had to be someone I trusted, and there was only one person I trusted enough to keep the fox in the seal, and that was you, he said, pointing a finger at him. Trusted? Why would you trust someone to seal a demon in them? Naruto asked his father, who just smiled. Of course, my son is too young to understand all this. That is why the seal was almost taken off. However, I will explain it to you, he said. Naruto nodded. You see, he continued, there are 9-tailed beasts in this world, and the Kyuubi is one of them. These beasts are sealed in a person, and this person is called a Jinchuriki, he said. The power of human sacrifice, he said, explaining the meaning of the term to Naruto. Jinchurikis are the power of human sacrifice, Naruto, because not only do they take on a lot of danger by sealing a beast within them, they also have to bear with the treatment you received at the hands of the villagers, and I couldn't understand that, he said sadly, shaking his head as he did so. What does that mean? Naruto said, sitting down and crossing his legs. Listening to his father like a child listens to a fairy tale. I expected the villagers to treat you like a hero, for you made an ultimate sacrifice by holding the Kyuubi within yourself, but they saw you for what you held inside you, not what you actually are. It is disappointing, I know, but that is ignorance, isn't it? He asked Naruto, who nodded. The villagers really did not know any better. Naruto, the trust one have in you was the fact that you could control what is inside you, so that one day you may use the power as a shinobi of Konoha, he said, smiling. Naruto nodded. Wasn't that his dream? It had always been that way. Naruto, I love you, and so did your mother. We are proud of you, and we will always watch you from above. Trust me on this. I will fix the seal this time, but this is the last time I do this, he said, causing Naruto to nod. Now, I have some time left. I think I should figure out those eyes of yours, he said, and Naruto wondered what was wrong. This was the second person, although calling the Kyuubi a person would be stretching it, had told him his eyes were different. Suddenly a mirror materialized in front of him. He walked up to the mirror and looked at his reflection. His eyes were different. There was a ripple-like pattern around the pupil and the iris and sclera were a red color. That is the Rinnegan, Naruto, and strangely enough I think I know what caused you to have the Rinnegan, his father said as Naruto stared transfixed at the mirror. Naruto, he said slowly. Naruto turned around. Do you know the basics of channeling chakra? He asked him. Naruto nodded. He smiled. A good, his father said as he began rubbing his hair. Why don't you relax and withdraw all chakra? He asked Naruto, who nodded and turned to the mirror while calming down and withdrawing the chakra from his body. His eyes returned to their normal piercing blue color. His father smiled. What do you know, you have my eyes too, he said, causing Naruto to smile. Dad, why do I have this Rinnegan thing? He asked his father, who looked pensive upon being asked that question. I think we need the fox to explain that question to us, he said, as the bright light immediately receded and they were back in the familiar dark and smelly sewer again. A yandame voice screamed, killer intent flaring, causing Naruto to feel unsettled again. However, his father held his hand, stabilizing him immediately. Come here, you insolent human, how dare you? Shut up, his father screamed, and that earned Naruto's respect. He was petrified of the damn thing, but his father was having a shouting match, and the Kyuubi was actually listening. I know you were not in control of yourself, but I had to do what I had to do, so stop shouting at me and listen and explain why he has these eyes. The fox smiled. The Sage of Six Paths possessed that dojutsu, and only a person with uchiha and senju chakra can unlock the Rinnegan, it said. That is correct, but where is the uchiha chakra from? He asked the fox. You know, the person who took control of me, after you freed me from it, I was left with some traces of that infernal chakra of the uchihas. It was not enough to control me again, but it was there. Today it melded with the Kitsu Uzumaki chakra, which is a clan that is related to the Senjus and my first ever host itself, Git said. No wonder he unlocked the Rinnegan, and I can even explain why the Rinnegan is slightly different for him. That is because of my own chakra, Git finished. Do you mean to say some of that uchiha chakra was mixed with your own and leaked into Naruto's chakra stream, mixing with his normal chakra and thus giving him a Rinnegan that is different and is something he can deactivate? The fox nodded its giant head. That does not make any sense whatsoever, Naruto pipped in, causing not only the yandame, but also the Kyuubi itself to laugh. Your son, Minato, he has spunk. I have to give you that, the fox said, laughing at the same time. Minato nodded. Naruto, focus some chakra to your eyes, will you? Once more, let's see if you can do it again. Naruto nodded, forcing some chakra to his eyes. However, the pain did not come this time. There was no burning sensation in his eyes. Minato looked at Naruto with a triumphant expression in his eyes. You can actually activate and deactivate this thing. That is certainly very useful, he said, causing Naruto to feel puzzled. Why would that matter, Dad? He asked Minato, who smiled. You will have some people after you for this dojutsu, Naruto, so it's a good thing that you can hide it at will, he said, causing Naruto to look at him wide-eyed. Is it really that powerful, Dad? He asked his father, who nodded. No one knows what the Rinnegan can do, Naruto. It generally is said to bring goodness or chaotic evil. You are going to be an exceptional shinobi someday. Naruto smiled. It was good to hear that from the man he was idolizing, who turned out to be his own father. Naruto, I am fading now, Minato said, smiling. Not a lot of time has passed outside, barely a second, so just react on your instincts, okay? I think you will be alright. I know I couldn't stay too long, and I know that you would love to know a lot of things, but that is your mother's story to tell, he said, causing Naruto to look at him again. Yes, Naruto, did you expect only your father to be able to talk to you? Your mother is a lot more feisty than you, and she made sure that she would see you when the time came, but that is some ways away, son, he said. Naruto was tearing up again, while even Minato seemed to have teary eyes. I love you and I hope you can forgive me for this, he said, causing Naruto to nod. Deep down, even Naruto knew he couldn't stay mad for long at his father for what had happened, and he understood the reasons for the fox being sealed into him. Minato began flickering. I asked the Sandame to give you Minato scrolls. He will understand clearly, he said. No matter what happens, do not blame the villagers, Naruto. Rise above that hate and focus on making friends and earning respect. Remember, the people who have responsibility thrust upon them are the ones who are strong. Just like you, make sure that the village is your responsibility, okay? Naruto nodded. Minato the fox said, interrupting the conversation that father and son were having as Minato began flickering. He has the eyes of our father, and he is of strong heart, so the day he is capable of taking my chakra, I will offer to meld with him, he said. The great Kyubi no Kitsune will make sure that he stays alive, he said, causing Minato to smile. You know, you aren't that bad, Minato said. The flicker was getting stronger now. The fox laughed. It's time, leave Minato, I consider you worthy enough of knowing my name. It is Kurama, he said. However, Minato had disappeared. Naruto was about to turn off the Rinnegan when the fox spoke to him. Naruto, not much time has passed outside. Those eyes should give you some form of control over gravity, so just focus your chakra on pushing when the mob comes close, you should be able to fend them off, it said. Naruto nodded. One more thing, when you need to talk to me, just meditate, this is your mindscape, you can meet anytime. You don't have to come here to talk to me though, we can do that telepathically also, it continued. A telepathic? Naruto scratched his head. What is that? Kurama shook his head. You are a stupid kid, now go, get said, pushing Naruto outside the mindscape. It was almost as though only a breath had been taken in the world outside. The civilians were still closing in, however some seemed to have noticed the color of his eyes had gone from blue to red. They stepped back, however Naruto was just doing what was coming to his mind, however he felt instincts take over as he gave a push of his chakra. Shinra Tensei, he whispered. The affects were immediate, a huge pulse of energy was sent out from Naruto's hands, and the whole mob of people was pushed right back. Naruto cringed as he saw a person hit his head against the wall. The narrow alleyway had become wide as the walls surrounding them had been destroyed. Some of the civilians were cringing at what had happened. There were moans of pain heard from some sides as Naruto realized that while he might not be as tired as he looked, there was a lot of things that had happened and everything had changed. He sighed as he fainted, deactivating his dojutsu as he did so. Weasel of the ANBU had seen villagers lying about in pain. He did not know what had happened. He sighed as he realized that the idiots had tried attacking Naruto Uzumaki again. He decided the boy needed a hospital while Sandame needed to know about this. He walked over to the exhausted 6-year-old and sunshined away. Naruto's Rinnegan. Now, I have warned you, Naruto is strong here, however not every battle he has will be of the curb-stomping variety. He has all the skills of the Rinnegan, but he can deactivate his at any time, and can also combine 2 or 3 nature types, however this will be more difficult for him compared to someone with a bloodline. The villains are also overpowered as such. Tell me what you thought about this story. It's called The Second Sage for a reason, you know. Also, I am running a poll about the pairing. It will probably be only for a week, so please vote. There will be a lot of names, and remember, only one can win it as there is no harem, so please take 5 minutes of your precious time and vote. Until then. Later. Naruto, The Second Sage by zapisthename. Anime Naruto rated M, English, Adventure, Naruto U, words, 88K+, faves, 2K+, follows, 1K+, published, June 4, 2012 updated, January 7, 2014. 554 Chapter 2, The Abilities of the Rinnegan. Edit note, changed some stuff. Changelog. Removed FFNC 17 FIC rant, looks like the purge has stopped, although I am really pissed off that Naruto reads Naruto is gone. I loved that FIC. Removed suggestions for sword names. I have a new one, it's not good at all, but it'll work, read on to find out. Removed suggestions for combination of nature types. I decided that they won't play too much of a role, they will, but not too drastic. Removed poll result update, in case you didn't know, Yujido won. Well, here it is, Naruto, The Second Sage Chapter 2, which is basically a sort of chapter that reveals some things the Rinnegan can do, such as one of the paths and nature manipulation and stuff like that. Now I got some really brilliant responses, and I was pleased. 11 reviews for the chapter is not bad, I guess. I hope this story gets more attention. I would like you to also take a few minutes to vote and decide the pairing if you can, that would be much appreciated. Please review and read the chapter, which is the longest I have written yet. Naruto spent the next day in a hospital recovering from what the Hokage had declared was some severe trauma that was caused due to an attempt on his life by the villagers, and many of whom had not managed to get away before the ANBU had shown up were arrested, and at least a couple who had swords in their possessions were in jail, awaiting their fates. The Hokage had decided that 2 people would be executed as they had violated the direct orders of the Hokage himself by attacking Naruto Uzumaki. Once Naruto had recovered, he was let out. However, the Hokage had silently put an ANBU on his trail as he was worried that this was not the last of all the horrible incidents that seemed to happen when Naruto was around. However, once the villagers seemed to have been scared away from Naruto, he took the tail off and just had them guard his apartment at night. The old man had been so busy that Naruto did not even get a chance to ask for the scrolls like his father had instructed him to. He decided to do that at another day, while he would now work on trying to figure out how to use his eyes to their full effect. This was proving to be more difficult than Naruto had expected it to be. For one thing, the fox did not seem to know much about the eyes. The things he did know, he wouldn't tell Naruto, as the Kyuubi was of the opinion that attempting those kinds of things would for all intents and purposes finish off Naruto for good, so for the moment Naruto was just working on his gravity manipulation. He had discovered that not only did he have the ability to push things away, called the Shinra Tensei, he also had the ability to attract things to himself. This was the Bansho Tenin. Naruto had not quite perfected the abilities yet, however he was getting better at it. Presently he was training with his gravity manipulation. The fox had him go away from the village as he did not want anyone to know about the powers his container had. Naruto had decided that this was a good plan of action as this would keep people in the dark. He was also sure that the attempts on taking his life would escalate if he was found to be so powerful, and those eyes of his would be hunted down. Even the old man was not told of those eyes. Naruto couldn't ever use those eyes in the village because the fox had detected something that had been watching them and had deemed it not safe enough to be trusted, so that had put a rest to Naruto's aim of showing off his talents to anyone in the academy. The academy was another cause of concern. August had approached and they were in the 2nd year of studies. There would be only 4 more years before Naruto would be able to participate in missions and would finally take a shot at accomplishing his dream of becoming Hokage. However, the teachers, he realized, were the real problem. Not only had they discriminated in their opinions of him, he wasn't really thought by anyone. All of them just ignored him when he tried some sort of a prank, or they just let him do his own thing. No one cared if he showed up or not, no one cared if he slept in class. They just gave him a cold shoulder, while the laziest boy in class, Shikamaru, was scolded all the time for sleeping. This only made Naruto really sad, as this was not what his father had wanted for him. His father had hoped that he would be treated as a hero for keeping a demon fox within him, and yet that never happened. Instead, he was just ignored and not acknowledged or helped. Oh man, he thought. If they knew who my father was, I bet they wouldn't treat me like the way they do now. Naruto's voice called out to him, "Come into my seal, just close your eyes now, the teachers will not mind anyway." Naruto nodded before entering the seal. "What is it, Kurama?" he asked the fox. The fox snorted. He had told Naruto that he preferred being called the Great Kyuubi no Kitsune, however it hadn't worked on the blonde. The kid just insisted on calling him Kurama. This angered him a lot. However, this was important and he had decided that for now, he wouldn't pay any attention to this minor mistake. "I hope you are not thinking of doing something as stupid as telling all these stupid people about your father and mother," Git said. Naruto smiled upon hearing that. Why the hell would I do that now? I am not dumb, Kurama, which is surprising because just a few days ago I would not be able to say that about myself, he said, shrugging. What do you mean, Kit? The fox asked him, out of curiosity. I used to view myself as a loser, and I did everything I ever did just to get some attention. I became a class clown because I thought I could get Sakura's attention, but deep down even I knew that the villagers hated me because I was a useless piece of trash. But ever since I learned about my father and the legacy I have to uphold, everything has changed. I feel more alive, I feel different, he finished. Well, I don't know why you would view yourself as a total loser, because a Jinchuriki is a really strong person, but you did not know that, so I can understand, the fox said, his tone resembling one of a man with years of wisdom. In that respect, you are like your mother, Kid. She was pure-hearted too. I must say, being sealed in bodies of such pure hearts may have made me go a bit soft, but that does not matter. This was another thing that had bothered Naruto. His mother, according to Kyuubi, had been a Jinchuriki herself. However, every day Naruto asked Kurama what had happened and how he had broken free. The fox just shrugged as he could not remember a single thing. Naruto sighed as he would have loved to know what had happened. All Naruto knew was that someone had taken control of the fox. However, the fox would only refer to that person as that man and never ever gave Naruto his name. "A kid, come back to solid ground. I wanted to talk to you about something," the fox said. Naruto sat down, eager to listen to what it was the fox wanted to say to him. "The Rinnegan you have is slightly mutated thanks to my chakra. For example, you are capable of turning it on or off at will, which is a big gift. The eyes itself do not drain your chakra in a noticeable way, so I guess you are okay there. You are also able to harness all the 5 basic elements." Naruto smiled. He had remembered that day. The fox had him steal some chakra-conductive paper from the hands of one of the chunin. The paper had then split into 5, one part was wrinkled, the other was wet, another had turned to dust, another had burned, and the last one was slashed to bits. When Naruto had channeled chakra through those papers, this indicated that he had all the 5 natures. He was also capable of using these elements without the Rinnegan activated. The fox had explained this by suggesting that the eyes had changed his genetic makeup, which was the point he was going to get to now. "Now, you must remember how I had you train in your water element, as I remember your mother training with it," he said. Naruto nodded. The aim with water training was simple: be able to manipulate water bodies just by using his water chakra. He was asked to go to a pond and try and work on it. However, he had not had much success. He had barely been able to summon the water chakra to do it. Instead of being able to extract torrents of water as he had hoped, he only managed to get some drops out. Kurama had told him that this would take some time as nature manipulation is hard. Kurama himself had never ever needed to use nature manipulation, as he had only one move, the tailed beast bomb, which did not need any nature manipulation, so Kurama did not have any idea as to how to do it. He only remembered Kushina using the training. "Well, kid, I think the genetic chakra you have is changing, thanks to using the water chakra you have," the fox said. "What does that mean?" Naruto asked him. "Well, kid, the first ever Hokage of Konoha, Hashirama Senju, was capable of using wood release, which was the combination of water and earth natures. This was because when he was born, his genetic chakras had mixed up, thus giving another kind of chakra, the wood chakra. Now, thanks to my own chakra mutating the Rinnegan, the genetics of yours have changed drastically, but I think that thanks to you harnessing the water chakra you have, it has begun mixing with all the other elements in your body. The process is slow and will take a long time to actually complete, about 5 to 6 years. However, the more you use the chakras, the more you should be able to mix them with each other, and thus you are more likely to be able to use those special elements," the fox said. Naruto stared at the fox open-mouthed. "You mean to say that I will be able to use wood release if I train in water chakra?" The fox nodded. "Basically, it's like ramen. Now ramen has noodles and broth. Noodles and broth both taste good separately, but they get better when they combine, don't they? Now similarly, by using the water chakra you have, you are forcing the chakras to combine, and thanks to your redefined genetic makeup, this is not going to affect you in the way it should have. Generally, combining nature chakras blows up in one's face. I have heard that some have died trying to force it, but my chakra seems to have made you immune to it. Now if only the fox paused when he realized that Naruto was not concentrating anymore. As a matter of fact, Naruto was drooling. Hey, what the hell, kid, can you stop with the daydreams about ramen and focus on what I am trying to tell you? It shouted, causing Naruto to snap out of it. Sorry, what were you saying? Naruto asked Kyubi, grinning sheepishly as the fox sighed. Look, consider a soup bowl. By using your water chakra, consider yourself putting some of it into the bowl. Now as you practice more with water, you put more into the bowl. Then you put some earth chakra into the bowl, thus creating wood chakra. In this way, by practicing with all the elements, you should be able to mix up and be able to access all the sub-elemental chakras, the fox said. Naruto's eyes widened. So I should be able to use wood release? He asked the fox. The fox nodded. Not just that, but also as far as I know, you can use wood, ice, boil, and storm releases as well. Congratulations, you have far too much power that you will be able to harness than you should, the fox said, sighing. Naruto began jumping up and down with excitement. Awaitite, he shouted. I am awesome, now I can become Hokage and protect these people, he said, dancing around. The surroundings in his mindscape were suddenly filled with ramen-like scents. This was something the Kyuubi couldn't explain. Your son is just like Kushina and looks like Minato. I can't help but think that he is going to be like father. I wonder where the others bijus are. I wonder if they will be able to sense what I have been able to about him, he thought to himself. Kid, stop dancing now, just get out and leave me. After doing that much thinking, I like sleeping, the fox said, sighing. Naruto nodded and left the mindscape. Naruto returned to the mortal plane from his mindscape and opened his eyes. Looking around, he realized that something was not right. Everyone in the class was looking at him. Naruto gulped as he turned, only to be met by the gaze of their new Chunin instructor for the next few years. His name was Iruka Umino. Naruto sighed. This instructor was not looking too happy about Naruto napping, but he knew that just like every other instructor he ever had, this one would just ignore him too. However, that did not happen. Naruto Uzumaki, Iruka shouted, if I catch you asleep in my class again, I will hit you harder, Iruka said, threateningly. Harder than what? Naruto asked, genuinely curious. Harder than this, Iruka said, before bonking Naruto on the head and leaving him with a lump. The class laughed while even Iruka seemed to have cracked up a little at the scene that had ensued. This guy is different, Naruto thought. He actually did something, he acknowledged me, wonder why he did that. I mean, he had taught us before, so why was he so concerned about me sleeping now? I wonder what is up, he mused, scratching his head. Now focus in class, Naruto, this is very important, he said. Naruto sighed and decided to act like the class clown again, as this was going to be his mask for the next few years. This is all useless, Iruka-sensei, come on and teach us some jutsus so that I can defeat the Hokage, Naruto said, pumping his fists up and down. Iruka sighed. Naruto, you are too young to actually learn jutsu, but by listening to the theory of it all you will be able to learn it better, so just do as I say and it will be alright, okay? Iruka asked Naruto, who nodded. As if a baka like you can learn anything, a certain pink-haired girl who Naruto thought he had liked screeched. Naruto sighed, he had to be in fake love with her for the next few years. What a drag, he thought, doing his best Shikamaru lazy face at Sakura instead of pouting while the class laughed. Not only was he forced to bear some humiliation, he was also going to have to concentrate in class, and he did not like this one bit. He decided that it was time to zone out and began daydreaming about all the asses he would kick when he had mastered the wood style. Naruto had managed sneaking out of Mizuki-sensei's class later on in the day. After Iruka's class was over, Naruto had been so bored that he had to sneak out. He had been thinking about going to the ramen store when he saw a grown man who had really bushy eyebrows and was wearing a green-colored bodysuit. This man looked extremely creepy, but even then, Naruto had to admit that he looked strong. There was another boy who had bushy brows and was wearing a blue-colored shirt and pants. Naruto found this eerie resemblance between the two people really creepy, and so he had to do it. Who are you? The little boy had asked the man, who smiled and began posing enthusiastically. I am Konoha's sublime green beast of prey, my guide, he said, before sticking out his thumb and posing with a smile that made his teeth sparkle. The whole thing creeped Naruto out, however it did not really have the same effect on the small boy, who was smiling. I am Rock Lee, no nickname, but I really like the word Mounties, he said, posing in the same way that guy had posed a minute ago. Naruto's sweat dropped at this was crazy, the whole thing, and yet he couldn't take his eyes off this. The big man, named Mike, I seemed to be impressed though. You burned with the flames of youth, maybe when you become genin, I shall train you, he said. The kid named Lee smiled. Yes, but I cannot channel chakra, the kid said. I have a birth defect which made it impossible for me to channel any chakra whatsoever, I cannot become a ninja, Lee said sadly. Even Naruto felt sad at this kid was weird but he did not deserve it. Nonsense, I am Jounin and even I know only one technique that can help me that requires ninjutsu, the man named Guy said, before making hand seals. Naruto perked up, no one to teach him any jutsu whatsoever, so he would have to see this. He memorized the seals that the Jounin had made. He also realized that the Jounin had made a contribution of blood before using the technique. Akuchios no jutsu. He looked on to see what would happen, and suddenly from out of nowhere a turtle appeared. Awoa, Naruto said out loud. This caused Lee and Guy to look in Naruto's general direction. The turtle vanished as Guy and Lee both turned towards the direction from which the voice had come. Come out, spy, that is most unyouthful of you to hide like that, Might Guy said, causing Naruto to shudder. However, he realized that his jig was up. He reluctantly came out, with a grin on his face. I am sorry, but I was so impressed by your introduction that I had to stay, Naruto lied, trying to calm down the jounin who had a stoic face. Upon hearing this, Guy cracked up. Another youthful student who uses his energy to play pranks on the entire village. I did not know you were a fan of flashy entrances, Naruto Uzumaki, Might Guy said enthusiastically. I shall show you the nice guy pose, for I am extremely happy with what has happened here today, he said. Naruto tried to stop him, however Might Guy posed in the same way he had posed in front of Lee. Might Guy then turned to Lee, failing to notice the look on Naruto's face, one of complete horror, and said, I shall train you so that you become a ninja that uses only taijutsu, my own style, called Goken, or the strong fist when I find the time, so that by your impressive skills, you allow your youth to shine, the man said to Lee, who lit up immediately. Hey, Guy-san, Naruto called out to Might Guy. Can you teach me too? He asked. Guy smiled at Naruto's question. Two youthful students, he said. It is good to know that Konoha is going to have shinobi that are going to show the flames of youth to the whole wide world. However, I have already taken Lee as my apprentice, he said, changing his tone from a happy one to a somber one. Naruto nodded. He understood. Lee had just somehow beaten him to a taijutsu trainer. Despite being weird, the Might Guy seemed like a nice person. He knew who Naruto was, however did not seem to have any prejudice against him. Might Guy saw the look on Naruto's face and began crying. How can I deny a person wanting to show off his youth? Might Guy screamed. Lee nodded. Hi, Guy-sensei, you simply have to train Naruto-kun here so that his flames of youth can shine bright, Rock Lee said. Naruto gulped. It was like they had found each other's soulmates here. Well, not Goken, but I presume I can give you another style that you might learn from a scroll and then you can spar with me and Lee in practice? He asked Naruto, who nodded enthusiastically. Yes, this is a very admirable solution indeed. As a matter of fact, I have just the style for you. You seem to be the kind of person who will be athletic, so you need something that allows you to flow in battle. This is the flowing palm style, a guy said, in a way that sounded really regal. The flowing palm? Naruto asked him. Yes, this is a very youthful style, much like my own Goken. This is a very beneficial to the user. I had trained in this before I created my own style. The aim is to attack and defend at the same time. Here you go, he said, handing Naruto the scroll. Now my youthful students, go and practice. Let the flames of your youth shine. Lee, I shall train you tomorrow at Training Ground 11, be there at 5 in the morning, Naruto-kun, you can come as well, he said, before sunshining away. Rock Lee introduced himself to Naruto the same way Guy had, and Naruto realized that Guy had already corrupted Lee. As soon as Lee had left, Naruto had traveled back to his apartment, where he opened the scroll with Flowing Palm written on it. Flowing Palm, he began reading out aloud. The purpose of this fighting style, like most of the Boundless Fist, is to attack while being able to defend at the same time. By engaging an attack enemy, striking though their center, yielding, following though, relaxing, nullify enemy's force, use enemy's force against them, and adding their own force. The user is able to quickly attack the enemy and defend at the same time. He finished. This style could indeed prove useful. He spent the night practicing the style of taijutsu. Naruto spent the next few weeks training with Lee and Guy. Lee seemed to be a taijutsu genius with really amazing determination. Naruto had become competent in the flowing palm technique, including having learned a taijutsu known as focus point, which was basically like the juken that the Hyuga used, except it was really precise and 2 hits could shut down an organ completely. However, Naruto realized that he was not a taijutsu kind of guy. However, he had a really strange experience when he attempted a ninjutsu. He had still not asked the old man for the scrolls, and his own engrossment with the flowing palm had made him forget the Kuchios no Jutsu that Guy had used in front of him. However, today he was going to learn it. No one had told him that a contract was needed to summon the animals, and he had asked Med that the jutsu summoned turtles, or maybe it summoned whatever the user was thinking of. He decided he wanted to summon a giant bird and activated his Rinnegan, pure instinct telling him to do so. He bit his thumb and made the seals, imagining a giant eagle as he cried out a Kuchios no Jutsu. The result was instantaneous. An eagle materialized out of nowhere, it also had drained a significant amount of Naruto's chakra. Naruto still had plenty, but he looked at the eagle in a strange fashion. How do I tell you what to do? He asked the eagle. A kid, came Kyuubi's voice from within the mindscape. Just think about what you want to do, and never attempt anything that dangerous without waking me up first. A summoning jutsu requires a contract of some sort, but you do not need it. This must be due to those eyes of yours, he said. Naruto nodded. Flap your wings, he thought, looking at the eagle. The eagle immediately flapped its wings. This is so cool, he said enthusiastically as he climbed aboard the eagle. Now fly high enough so that no one can make out that it's me, then take me around the village, he said. Sure enough, Naruto spent that day flying around the village instead of training, and he did it till he realized that he did not have enough chakra left. The eagle vanished as soon as he hit ground and Naruto slumped over unconscious. Naruto realized that the advantages of the Rinnegan was that he could summon any animal he wanted and could control it with his thoughts, which he began training himself in. He also began working on his reserves, which were already Kage level, but he wanted to be able to use the summoning jutsu to his full advantage, and he did. Soon he could summon numerous creatures without any significant loss in his chakra, which he considered was amazing for him to do. He realized that this could unlock a whole new world for him. He could use the animals to sneak around and grab some jutsu scrolls that he could then use to teach himself some useful jutsus. The fox was obviously not going to help with learning all the elemental jutsus, so maybe could grab some scrolls for himself to learn from. The possibilities were endless. Naruto cursed himself for everything that had happened. Here he was with these eyes that the Kyuubi had said were all-seeing and powerful and were possessed by the Sage of Six Paths, who was the god of all jutsu himself, and yet thanks to who he was, he couldn't exactly brag about it, and he couldn't ask anyone for help, because no one would give it to him even if he did. Might Guy was just one of the people in the village. Not everyone would be as intelligent as Guy to realize that what was inside him was not him, and yet, the fox was not necessarily a bad thing to have. After all these days of loneliness, the fox, no matter how cynical he still was the only company Naruto had. Naruto could call him one of the few friends. Actually, apart from Lee, it seemed like Kurama was his only friend. For some reason Naruto found that really depressing, and could anyone really blame him for feeling that way? Naruto was depressed enough and he was fed up with putting off asking the old man for what was rightfully his, so he decided that enough was enough and that he would go and ask the old man for his scrolls. The clerk in the Hokage's office was not exactly the person who Naruto would want to see on a day that he was just not in a good mood. He knew that the old man was going to be free and reading those disgusting books of his at the moment. However, the clerk, who doubled up as his secretary, was a total idiot. Just like all the villagers, she also thought that Naruto was the nine-tailed fox, and Naruto had little tolerance for people like that. As he walked up to the office, the clerk sneered upon seeing him. "I love that disgusting impression on your face," Naruto said. It was as if someone had forced him to say it, but he was glad that he did. "It makes you look constipated, so the next time someone makes that face, I know what is wrong," he said, laughing. The clerk was apparently in a bad mood too. "What do you want, demon brat?" she snarled. "A meeting with the old man," he said simply. "No way, demon brat, and treat him with some respect. He is Hokage-sama to you," she said. "Don't teach me manners, especially not ignorant fools like you. I want to talk to the Hokage, so you will let me meet him or else dash." The clerk laughed. "Or else what?" she asked him. "I'll tell the Hokage that you told me that I am the Kyuubi, and you know what that means, don't you?" he said, smiling. Naruto felt bad for playing this card, however he was extremely happy to see the expression on the clerk's face. "You wouldn't dare dash." "I would," Naruto said, grinning evilly now. This woman was in for a shock. "So it's your call," he said. The clerk sighed and let Naruto in. Naruto smiled. "Now that is more like it," he said, smiling at the woman widely. The woman scowled at Naruto, who was proud of himself for having played that kind of a devious trick. The Hokage, just like Naruto had suspected, was reading the disgusting Ika Paradise books. He smiled. "I knew you were not busy, old man," he said, startling the Hokage, who rushed to hide those books in his drawer, stumbling and his face flushed because of the way Naruto had gotten the drop on him. "The Hokage cannot read stuff like this, old man. Aren't you supposed to be protecting the village and not reading porn in your office?" he asked the Hokage, who smiled. "Naruto, I have had a long day, you know, paperwork and everything, so cut me some slack, will you?" I am a hard-working man, you know, he said smiling. Naruto nodded. Well, the Hokage said continuing, since you barged in like that I am sure you have something important to say Naruto, so spit it out will you? He asked Naruto who nodded. Yeah, I was getting to that actually. I came here for something that is mine, he said, which caused the Hokage to raise an eyebrow. Run out of allowance? That is highly unlikely of you Naruto, he said. Because you usually have a lot of savings in your gamachan, he said, which caused Naruto to subconsciously rub the spot where the frog-shaped wallet was resting at the moment. Not my allowance old man, he said, causing the old man to look at him in a strange manner. This is a secret old man, so I want only you to hear this, okay? He asked the Hokage who sighed. Okay, well you heard the kid. Leave he said, clapping as suddenly two Anbu came out and left the office. So Naruto, what do you want to tell me? He asked Naruto who focused some chakra to his eyes. The color of his eyes changed, causing Hokage's eyes to widen. Is that the dash? Not the sharingan, Naruto said interrupting whatever the old man was going to say. This is the Rinnegan, I am sure you have heard of it, he said, causing the old man to look like he had a heart attack as he fell back on his chair, slumping further. What the hell? He asked the old man who was sunk back in his chair. Are you okay, old man? He asked him, who nodded. Yes, I am fine, but this is shocking, do you have any idea how you got it? He asked Naruto, who shook his head. Although technically he did, the fox had told him not to mention how he got it to anyone. So that is what happened when the villagers attacked you, it wasn't the fox was it? He asked Naruto, referring to the incident 2 weeks ago when a mob was found lying because they foolishly attacked him. A way to execute 2 of those civilians old man, they have stopped attacking me lately, I know that they should not have died however I guess it worked out fine for me he said. I have no idea what those eyes of yours can do he said still staring at his eyes. Naruto smiled. Well, for one thing, I have nature control and I can actually mix to create sub-elements, so you are looking at a future wood user he said with a hint of pride in his voice. Also I can summon animals without needing a contract, and I seem to have really increased grasping abilities and good control, however I need some scrolls old man, I really need to train, I mean my father gave you some scrolls of his right, I mean I heard that every Hokage leaves some sort of scroll for his successor in case of a sudden death, he asked the old man, who paled. Yes, I know my father is the yondaime, to think about it, the resemblance is really uncanny isn't it? He asked the old man. I am sorry Naruto, I would have told you but dash. Save it old man, I know you did it to protect me, I can understand, but you can make it up to me by giving me the scrolls my father left, for me he said. He then told the Hokage about everything that had happened the day the mob had attacked him. The old man nodded. Well, there are some things that you are not really ready for yet, but if you say that you have some good chakra control, I think I will give you this, he said pulling out a scroll from the shelf behind him which had the kanji 4 spiral on it. This is your father's prize technique, it is an A-rank jutsu known as the Rinnegan, your father had created this jutsu and it took him 3 years to do it, but I think you will be able to do it faster than that he said smiling as he gave Naruto the scroll. It's a blood scroll, only someone with the DNA of your father running through his veins could open that, tried he said. Naruto bit his thumb and put some blood in the scroll which opened instantly. So I need some water balloons and air balloons, what the hell? He said looking at the Hokage. It involves shape manipulation of chakra, you rotate the chakra with speed fast enough that can drill through almost anything, he said smiling at Naruto's expression. So this is the kind of jutsu my dad made huh? He asked the Hokage who nodded. I also have something else I would like you to start, seeing that you are the son of your father and mother, I will give you this he said, pulling out a green book. On the book was written the basics of sealing arts. Fuinjutsu is a very intricate art Naruto, however both of your parents were extremely good at it, and it runs in your blood so I need you to read this he said, Naruto nodded. This was gold, he was getting a lot of stuff from the Hokage. Now I am sure you are aware of the high chakra reserves your tenant brings, that along with possessing the Rinnegan gives you reserves that are probably higher than me, so I can help you with something that will speed your training he said to Naruto, who looked like a sponge at the moment, just absorbing everything that had happened up to this point. This is the Kagebunshin no Jutsu, it is a Jounin level jutsu that creates solid clones he said, writing down the hand seals. You should be able to make hundreds of clones thanks to your reserves and get this, whatever your clones experience you get back. So you can see the potential in training with the clones, he said. Naruto was wide-eyed. It was like the eyes of his had left him with a quest for knowledge. This is amazing, old man, he said, literally jumping up and down in his seat as the Hokage smiled at him. This was the enthusiasm he wished Kakashi would show. The Jounin was always late for each and every mission that he was assigned. Oh well, I think you should leave and get to training, however do not miss your academy classes, he said, which caused Naruto to groan. The next 2 months were great for Naruto. He learned the shadow clones in less than an hour, which was surprising, and he could make at least 1,000 clones, which Naruto would then split. He began practicing the flowing palm with about 100 clones. The other clones worked on the Rinnegan. According to his father's scroll, he had worked on completing the Rinnegan by mixing it with his nature manipulation, however he had not been able to do it. Naruto on the other hand had asked the Hokage about nature manipulation, and the Hokage had given him a scroll which gave him the details on wind nature manipulation. Using his clones, he had managed cutting the leaf, however he could not find any waterfall to cut, so the training had been put on hold. However, the water training had been going along nicely. After managing to manipulate water bodies to fill a bottle, Naruto and his clones worked on the creation of torrents. He then began practicing on this relentlessly, and he had pretty much gotten the whole exercise down. Kurama had told him that thanks to the use of wind and water chakra, Naruto had finally managed creating some ice chakra. Thanks to the chakras mixing, Kurama had told him that by using the clones, he had speeded up the whole process. Naruto had found himself creating some ice by freezing the moisture around him, however he had no ideas as to how he would go about using the ice in a jutsu. Kurama had told him to read up on hand seals and how he could use it to manipulate the whole nature of ice. Apart from training for ice, wind and water, Naruto had also been reading up on sealing and realized that he took to sealing like a fish takes to water. He had already finished reading the book twice over and had begun working on his own ink. Sealing arts involved mixing ink with chakra and creating his own language of sealing. Any seal master was supposed to have his own brand of seals. Naruto had already done a lot of work, including some exploding seals that would not allow anyone but himself to enter his apartment without blowing themselves up. However, Naruto still got a lot of mean looks from the villagers. Even at the academy, all the girls were into Sasuke Uchiha, which really infuriated him. The fangirls were infuriating beyond measure. They all seemed to only screech and do nothing else. However, there was one experience with a fangirl that left a really bad taste in Naruto's mouth. This was one day after the academy when Naruto was reading the book on intermediate sealing arts. He had only recently acquired the book and was very happy to have found it. He was reading on how to place seals on people without using ink when he found the book snatched from his hands by Sakura Haruno. "Give me my book back," he said, looking at Sakura, who was now peering at the book she had snatched from Naruto. "No," she said. "Ya baka like you does not deserve to know about Fuinjutsu, only Sasuke-kun may read about it," she said. "Give me my book back," he said, not in a mood for any of this. However, Sakura refused. "No, only Sasuke-kun may have it," she said, taking off with his book. Naruto sighed as he activated his Rinnegan. "Bancho Tenin," he called out as Sakura came flying right back at Naruto, who deactivated his eyes immediately. Naruto now had Sakura by the grasp of her hair and pulled on it, causing Sakura to cry out in pain. Naruto felt bad at doing this, but he decided that the stupid fangirl needed to learn a lesson. "Give me that book, or I will cut all your hair and show it to Sasuke-kun. You know how he does not like short hair, right?" he asked her. Sakura began sweating at this. "Please don't," she said, handing Naruto the book back. "Good," Naruto said, smiling. I hope you learned your lesson, because otherwise there will be hell to pay," he said. Sakura gulped. "How did you pull me back like that?" she asked him in ear. Naruto smiled. "I used a rope," he said, lying. However, the girl was stupid enough to believe it. "Ninja rope?" she asked him. "Yes," he said. "You want to give some to Sasuke-kun?" he asked her in a mocking tone which made Sakura cringe. After that encounter there was not much that really happened. October 10th came around and Naruto was hunted down by the villagers, except he had decided to spend his birthday outside the village training. He had finally managed practicing his earth-style element and had managed to produce wood chakra in his body. The wind and earth had also combined to form crystal release, which was simple enough to use and master as it just crystallized everything in the surroundings as it was used. Naruto realized that he would need to start working on the other elements, namely fire and lightning, as they would make a really good potent combination for him to use. However, at the moment he was happy with possessing different types of nature combinations. "A kid, shouldn't you be celebrating your birthday?" the fox asked him. Naruto shook his head. "No, those bastards really look for excuses to hunt me down, and I will be damned before I give them a chance," he said. "What I really need to focus on is the Rinnegan," he said. He had been working on combining the Rinnegan with a nature type. He had actually moved all his clones into trying to work on it, however nothing had actually come off it. "A kid, I think you should try combining wind chakra. You seem really proficient with it. Maybe that was your strongest affinity before the Rinnegan came along," the fox suggested. Naruto nodded. He began working on practicing wind fusion into the Rinnegan with his clones. The practice went on for about 2 hours before Naruto called the clones to halt. He then dispelled them one by one, which took an hour in itself. "Yokai," Naruto said with a determined look in his face. "Let's do this." He began infusing his wind chakra with the Rinnegan, and finally he could feel it. The blue sphere had some sort of visible wind blade coming in and out of it. That was apparently the wind chakra that was infused. "A complete," he said. "Futon, Rinnegan," he said before smashing it into a tree. What happened next was, according to Naruto, the coolest thing he had ever seen. The tree he smashed it into was completely wrecked, uprooted and cut into 3 halves. "That is a powerful jutsu," the Kyuubi said, sounding slightly awestruck. "I know, right?" Naruto said, smiling to himself. He had come a long way already. He had accomplished his father's dream of completing the Rinnegan, and he did it aged 7. "Those eyes of yours, kid, you show the talent to succeed the Sage of 6 Paths. Dare I say I am proud of my container," the fox said, with a hint of pride in his voice. "Thanks, Kurama," Naruto said, smiling. "I guess we need to start working on our wood release," he said. "I remember Hashirama Senju and his damn wood release techniques," Kyuubi said, sighing. "He had the ability to control the tailed beast," he said. "Really?" Naruto asked him. "Yes, Hashirama Senju came in contact with several tailed beasts, which he distributed among the villages, while his wife, Mito Uzumaki, sealed me into herself, thus keeping me in Konoha," the fox said. Naruto nodded. He had some scrolls for the wood release techniques, so he began practicing again. 2 more months passed before a tragedy shook Konoha. The entire Uchiha clan was massacred. Only one person, Sasuke Uchiha, had survived. Meanwhile, it was found out that Itachi Uchiha, Weasel of the Anbyu, had defected the village. According to Sasuke's testimony, Itachi had killed his clan to test his abilities. Sasuke would never be the same, and nor would Konoha. It was already well known that the Uchiha clan that ran the local police force was an important asset for the village. Sasuke's behavior had changed ever since he had come back to the village. He had become more obnoxious and somewhat of a loner. Meanwhile, the fangirls found this even more cooler than before. They would not leave him alone. Naruto felt sort of bad for Sasuke, seeing as to how both of them were one of a kind. They came from a prestigious family but had no one left. For Sasuke it would be even worse, since he had grown up with a family and Naruto had never really known any parental love. Naruto would have reached out to Sasuke, but his pride got the better of him and he decided to leave Sasuke alone. Naruto, on the other hand, had perfected 3 of his basic elements. As a matter of fact, he had already even learnt loads of wood-style techniques and had created a few ice and crystal techniques. In January, Naruto was summoned to the Hokage's office. He had rushed over there immediately. "Naruto, I have a mission for you," the Hokage said, which caused Naruto to cough. "Mission?" he asked the Hokage. "Yes," the old man nodded. "You will go to Uzushigakure, the village from where your clan hailed, and you will be going with one of my own students," he said. The window opened to reveal a tall white-haired man with markings on his face. "Hey brat, it's me, Jiraiya, the great toad sage," he said, posing with a toad. Naruto's sweat dropped. This was going to be really something. "Done, that was long and took me 3 days to write. Blame my laziness. I might make some mistakes, which is only human, so forgive me for that. I will go back and edit them on my time, but for now I guess this is fine." This was a filler chapter with Naruto discovering his skill, a vague mention of the Uchiha massacre and an awkward cliffhanger ending. Next chapter, Naruto visits his village with Jiraiya. Now here is where I need your help. Also, I would like to thank Naruto fanon for the flowing palm taijutsu style. And also you too, for making the Joshua tree, which I listened to exclusively while writing this chapter. Later. Naruto, the Second Sage by zapisthename. Anime Naruto rated M, English, Adventure, Naruto U, words, 88K+, faves, 2K+, follows, 1K+, published, June 4, 2012 updated, January 7, 2014. 554 Chapter 3, The Village of Origin. Edit note, changed some stuff. Changelog. Removed poll updates. Removed some small stuff that did not matter too much. Removed Herbarine asterisk. I am back with the third chapter of Naruto, the Second Sage. This chapter was alright to write, although I am concerned with the sword. I am sure many people would have wanted to see Naruto take the sword after a big fight, but I think I did alright with the sword. Read on to find out. I was not in the best of health when I wrote this chapter, thus explaining the length of this thing. It's barely 6,000 words. I had wanted more on there, but for now it's fine. I also had to throw my parents a party for their 25th anniversary and had a hectic couple of days which hindered my writing, but I had to get stuff out, so I did. I do not own Naruto. It is the property of Masashi Kishimoto. Please support the official release. And my smoking habit, I need to smoke. It helps me breathe. It gives me inner strength. Naruto looked at the person who had gravity-defying hair standing in front of him. The great Toad Sage Jiraiya? He asked him incredulously. Jiraiya nodded. That is right, he said. I am the great sage of Konoha, one of the legendary three, he said dramatically. The legendary three jokers? Naruto asked him, at which Jiraiya face faulted. Damn it, brat, you ruined my entrance, he said. There will be hell to pay for this, he said. Shut up, you old geezer, Naruto shot back at him, not caring if this guy was a Toad Sage or a legend. He was irritating as all hell. Sarutobi watched the scene in front of him with amusement. It reminded him of when Jiraiya first met Kushina. She had treated him the same way Naruto was treating him now. He has come a long way already, Kushina, Sarutobi thought, smiling as Naruto and Jiraiya continued their back and forth. You would be proud of him. Pervy Sage, Naruto said. I have seen you before. When I was 4, you were peeping in the women's section of the hot spring, and then somebody caught you, and you had to run away, he said, laughing at Jiraiya, who had a scowl on his face. Don't call me that, brat, he said with a pout, but Naruto had no intention of stopping with the ribbing. He continued until Sarutobi had enough. Okay, Sarutobi said, interrupting their volley. I am tired of this now. Naruto, will you listen to this mission I have for you? He asked Naruto, who nodded. Sorry, old man, it's just that this pervy sage is a real idiot, he said, sighing. And I thought you interrupted my training just so I could meet this man here, he said. Sarutobi smiled. Jiraiya can be like that, but I am getting to my point now, as Sarutobi said. Now Naruto, Sarutobi continued when he realized that there wouldn't be any further interruptions. You hail from the Uzumaki clan, which is a clan well known for having been allies of Konoha in the Shinobi Wars. However, the whole clan was wiped out some years ago, he said. They lived in Uzushigakure, the village hidden in the whirlpools. The symbols most Konoha shinobi wear on their shoulders, the one of the spiral is actually the symbol of your clan. It was done to signify the alliances of the two villages, he said. The Uzumaki were infamous for their proficiency in Fuinjutsu. They were highly feared, and the Uzumaki ninja were also master swordsmen. They could turn any battle in the favor of the side they were participating in the battle for, and for that reason many villages wanted them taken down. They did that by allying against your village. Iwa, Kiri and Kumo were all involved in the taking down of your village. There was a fierce battle fought for 3 days with all the shinobi forces against the Uzumaki. However, after 3 days the battle turned in the favor of the alliance between the 3 villages, and yet the Uzumaki had managed wiping out all of their forces. That, combined with your own father taking out thousands of Iwa ninja, had turned the battle in Konoha's favor, and the battle had finally been won. Sarutobi finished. Naruto smiled. It was good to know where he got all his determination from. The Uzumaki clan, said Jiraiya, standing up and walking towards the window. They were known for their amazing lifespans. Uzumaki clansmen would live on for years and years. They were also known for their stamina, which was godlike in some respects, Jiraiya said. I can say that I myself learned some of the sealing from the Uzumaki. They trusted me enough, and the reason I am the seal master is because of that, Jiraiya said. Naruto's eyes widened. This guy was a seal master? Naruto, you can visit the village. You always needed to be with an Uzumaki to get in, or you needed to be allowed. I am sure you will be allowed to go in too. There are a lot of possessions there, including some tips on sealing. I want you to go there and recover it. Not only you, but also Konoha can use it to become stronger, and then in the future we can train our ninjas in Fuinjutsu. There is also a high probability that there might be some weapons there. You can pick one to train with, the Sarutobi said, smiling. Naruto grinned. Maybe he could find a cool sword to fight with. He had always wanted one, and now he could have one. Really, old man? He asked Sarutobi, who nodded. Yes, finally I can have a sword for myself, Naruto said, pumping his fists in the air. Jiraiya smiled. Don't get too excited, brat. I am accompanying you, and I will train you, but Jiraiya said in the same pompous tone that he had taken on when he had first met Naruto. Naruto scowled. Oh yeah? You don't need to, I can train by myself, he said to Jiraiya, who sighed. Naruto, Sarutobi said. Are you sure that is a good idea? I mean, he did train your father, he told Naruto. Naruto looked at Jiraiya with a funny expression which made Jiraiya feel like a monkey in the zoo. What are you looking at? He asked Naruto. Are you telling the truth, old man? This pervert taught my father? He asked Sarutobi, who nodded. Jiraiya sighed. You know, you might think I am an incompetent loser, but I am actually pretty strong. Your father was one of my most promising students, he said, sighing. He had a future till the Kyuubi attacked, Jiraiya said sadly. Do you know? He continued. You were named by me? He asked Naruto, whose eyes widened again. Yes, Jiraiya said, smiling at Naruto's expression. You were the name of the lead character in my book, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi, he said, taking out a green-colored book and tossing it to Naruto, who caught it. This book was horrible, it barely sold. No wonder I had to write Ika, he said, sighing. Naruto stiffened. This guy wrote those books? I did not know you had such a tough life, kid. I mean, the one time I visited the village after you were born was to deliver a report, and I didn't even meet Sensei, he said sadly. But now that I am here, he said, his tone doing a complete changeover, I will train you in your father's technique, the Rinnegan, he said, flashing a smile. I learned that already, Naruto said, which caused Jiraiya to fall over. What the hell? Jiraiya asked Sarutobi. This kid learnt the Rinnegan at 7 years of age. Now you will tell me he completed the technique too, Jiraiya said, at which Sarutobi nodded. As a matter of fact, he said, smiling, he did. Jiraiya was completely shocked at this. He could not believe it. This kid had completed the Rinnegan, something he himself couldn't do. Naruto, Sarutobi said. Channel some chakra to your eyes, he said. Naruto nodded and did what was asked of him. No way, that is, Jiraiya said, stammering. The Rinnegan is, Sarutobi said simply. Yes, but it looks different. Is that because of the fox? He asked Sarutobi, who nodded. That is what Kurama says it is, Naruto said. Kurama? Jiraiya asked him. Oh yeah, Kyuubi's real name is Kurama, cute huh? He asked Jiraiya, who stared open-mouthed at Naruto like he was some kind of an alien. Listen, you two catch up at a Chiraka ramen bar. I have loads of work to do, he said, dismissing both of them. Leave for the village tomorrow. It's in the land of whirlpools, not too far away from the land of the waves, he said. Jiraiya has been there, so he knows where it is, he said. Naruto nodded. The two soon left the office, leaving Sarutobi with his paperwork. Does anybody have the cheat code to beat paperwork? He thought to himself, sighing as he went on with his routine. X. So you named me, yeah? Naruto asked Jiraiya, who nodded. They had just left the village. Naruto had spent last night sealing his belongings in a seal. Jiraiya was impressed that Naruto could use seals with such effectiveness already. Yeah, I told your father that Naruto was a name I came up with while thinking of ramen, but he insisted on you being called Naruto, he said. What would have happened if I was a girl? He asked Jiraiya. I mean, Naruto is a guy's name, right? So he trailed off. Jiraiya laughed. I guess then we would call you Naruko, but how does it matter? He asked Naruto, who had a serious expression on his face. I just wished my parents were the one who told me all this, you know, he said with a hint of sadness in his voice. Jiraiya smiled. Oh, your parents are alive, he said, which made Naruto stop walking. What? He asked Jiraiya. I meant here, he said, rubbing his chest, indicating the heart, and up there, he said, pointing to the heavens. I'm sure they are watching, he said. What do you think they are saying right about now? He asked Jiraiya, who sighed. They are angry that I wasn't there for my godson, he said. Naruto nodded his head. Look, pervy sage, I can understand why you weren't here, you had things to do, he said. Jiraiya smiled. Yes, Naruto, I had a spy network to run, and I expected you to fend for yourself till I came along. You see, I would have trained you either way. After all, you are the son of my best student, and someone I hope to pass on my own teachings to, he said. I just hoped that you would be ready to appreciate what was taught to you, he said. I however did not expect the villagers to be such idiots, Jiraiya said sadly, or else I would have done something, he said. Naruto smiled. Don't blame them, pervy sage, I mean come on, they are poisoned by those fools on the council, especially the civilian council, he said. Jiraiya nodded. Those fools are idiots, which is why I want you to hide the Rinnegan from them as long as possible, do you understand? He asked Naruto, who nodded. Kurama told me that already, that is not a problem, he said. Jiraiya nodded. What else did the fox teach you? He asked Naruto. Water manipulation, I learned earth and wind by myself. I perfected the futon, Rinnegan by myself too, he said. What about other things? He asked Naruto. Ayo, that reminds me, he said, biting his thumb and making the hand seals for the Akuchios no Jutsu, he called out, hitting his hands on the ground. Jiraiya wasn't sure if Naruto had a contract, however a giant bird was summoned nonetheless. Jiraiya stared at the bird open-mouthed. Even while training Nagato, he hadn't seen anything like this. The giant bird looked like one of those rocks from the old days, those giant birds which were known to have carried off innocent children to their deaths. My Rinnegan allows me to summon these, he said, pointing out the eyes of the rock, which also had the red-colored Rinnegan eyes. I actually any animal as long as I have chakra, he said as he got on the bird. Come on, old man, are you gonna hop on or not? He asked Jiraiya, who nodded and rushed over to the bird. So you tell me the directions and this bird will fly us there. Keep in mind my limit with this bird is 5 hours, beyond that I get tired, he said. Jiraiya nodded. They were outside Konoha, 5 miles away from the main gates. A wave country is to the west, he said as he sat behind Naruto, who nodded. The bird took off immediately, and to Jiraiya's delight, they were going pretty fast. This is a useful skill, Jiraiya told him. Naruto nodded. I know, I actually practiced for something like this. I had to build up my chakra reserves for all that, he said. Lots of water walking and tree climbing, he said. Jiraiya smiled. Naruto was taking his training really seriously. Hiruzen Sarutobi was back in his office staring at the moon. The paperwork had kept him in the office for a long time, but it wasn't like he had anyone to go back to. Only Konohamaru was the relative he had in the village. His son was still working for the Fire Lord. Sarutobi sighed as someone knocked on the door. It was his old teammate, Danzo Shimura. The man had been his rival back in the day, and now he was a war veteran, with bandages covering his arm and one eye, leaving him with one good arm and one good eye. Hiruzen, Danzo said to him in what Sarutobi assumed was a greeting. Yes, Danzo, Sarutobi replied, indicating for him to take a seat. However, Danzo did not take a seat. Some people have seen Naruto leave the village with Jiraiya, he said. What is the meaning of this, Hiruzen? He asked. Sarutobi sighed. It's a training trip, Danzo, he said, in his own way to assuage Danzo, who had for long advocated that Naruto be kept safe and brought up as a weapon. I am happy that the boy is getting training, but I am not happy with who is giving it, he said. Sarutobi raised his eyebrow at this. Who would you have wanted to train Naruto? He asked Danzo, even though he pretty much knew the answer. Me, Danzo said simply. I would have raised him and trained him properly, he said. The way a shinobi should be raised, not like the way you train them, he said. Sarutobi stood up, clearly angry. Danzo took a step back. Don't think that I don't know what you would have done to him. It would have been just like all the other ninjas in your route, he said, practically spitting out every word. Hiruzen, Danzo said. Your method dash. It was Tobirama-sensei's method, Sarutobi said. Don't tell me that you are that willing to disobey your own sensei, he said. Well, I want the good of the village Hiruzen, just like you. But I think my way is better, he said, before turning around and walking away. Sarutobi sighed. This was a perfect way to end what was already a really bad day. The fates were against him today. Naruto and Jiraiya had already reached the wave country 4 hours by taking flight, much to Jiraiya's delight. However, much to Jiraiya's chagrin, there was also no bathhouse. Because of the poor economic conditions of the country, even the Lord of Wave Country was practically a pauper. The problem was thanks to the precarious position of the country used to be prosperous thanks to the number of ports they had. However, much recently, a shipping magnate called Gato had taken over the one remaining port of Wave Country and thus shut out the whole place. This led to all prices shooting up and poverty becoming commonplace. Also, all bathhouses were stopped as people did not have money to spend in them. Many women had been forced into prostitution thanks to the poor economic conditions. However, Jiraiya assured himself that he would not stay too long. He was leaving as soon as he got a ship that could take Naruto and him to the whirlpool. They were staying in a beaten-up rest house that was far more expensive than Konoha would have, but it would have to suffice. Naruto had just returned from taking a walk around the village and he was not looking very happy. Man, I thought my life was hard. These orphans really have it bad here, Naruto said, wiping his forehead before taking a sip of what he thought was water before he spit it out. Arg, what the hell is this? He asked, thrusting the bottle in Jiraiya's direction, causing the white-haired man to laugh. That is sake. You are too young to understand the good things in life, boy, Jiraiya said, smiling. Naruto scowled. Yeah, right. Well, these orphans don't understand the good things in life either, he said seriously. The economic situation in this country is not very good, Naruto, but there isn't much you can do about it, at least not now, he said. Naruto nodded. I wish I could do something, to ease the pain, Naruto said. Jiraiya nodded. I felt the same way too, Naruto, but there are some things that a person can never ever change. You have to give them time, they sort themselves out eventually, he said. I guess you are right, pervy sage, he said, causing Jiraiya to hang his head down. I told you to not call me that, he said, but Naruto shook his head. Never gonna stop calling you what you are, pervy sage, he said again, this time stressing on the words pervy and sage. Jiraiya decided he needed to drop this topic. Okay, brat, we have to move now, let's get to the port, he said. Naruto nodded before beginning to seal everything they had unpacked. Soon they were on their way to the port. Naruto looked around the city. The poverty in this area was rampant, and there was almost nothing he could do about it. He still thought back to his own life, and he could sympathize with these people. They had gone through what he had gone through, except there wasn't an entire village that was after the lives of any of these orphans, while Naruto was ostracized because he contained something that reminded the village of all the destruction and death that had been caused due to it. At least no one here has to be accused of being a demon, he thought as he saw a boy and a girl fighting over a rice cake. Naruto's heart sunk as the boy decided to break the ball in half and give it to the girl. At least they knew the importance of sharing something. He wished someone had done that for him when he was struggling. Maybe someone could have helped him out whenever he was troubled by anything. But he wasn't that lucky. Soon they reached one of the small docks. There they saw a tall man and another old man who was bespectacled and looked and smelt drunk. I am looking for a boat that can take us to the whirlpool that is not too far away from here, Jiraiya said, looking at the two men. The taller man stepped forward and spoke up. I am sorry, but I do not row. I am a farmer and my father is a bridge builder. However, I have a friend who can take you there, he said in an apologetic tone. That's all right, I don't mind at all, Jiraiya said. The taller man began walking towards one of the other boats on the dock when the drunken spectacled man stopped him. Akaiza, for all we know these could be Gato's men, he said. Why should we help them? The man named Kaiza shook his head. Father, looks like you have had too much to drink. Tsunami will be unhappy again, he said. The old man shook his head and moved away, grumbling as he did so. Kaiza came back 5 minutes later with a man in the hat. This man here is good. He will take you to your destination, but be careful, do not venture in the whirlpool. Many people have died trying to go there. There is an island near the whirlpool which is the only safe place, he said. The rower stepped forward and shook Jiraiya's hand. It will be a pleasure to take you there, he said. Jiraiya nodded. If you don't mind me asking, why do you want to go there anyway? Kaiza asked Jiraiya. I am sorry but that is confidential, he said. Kaiza nodded. Very well, I wish you a happy journey, he said. Jiraiya nodded and bowed, so did Naruto. Soon they were on the way there. You know, pervy sage, maybe we could have flown there, this boat thing wouldn't have been necessary, Naruto said. Naruto, it would be impossible flying there, because of the mist that surrounds the place, Jiraiya said. Mist, was that done for some additional protection? He asked Jiraiya, who merely nodded. Yes, your clansmen were very clever, he said. Of course they were, Naruto said, smiling. 3 hours later they found themselves close to a giant whirlpool. There was an island that was just on the edge of the vortex and the rower had to make a complex turn to land them there. He then left after Jiraiya paid him more than what was necessary. Now Naruto and Jiraiya found themselves on the island that was not too wide. Naruto, use your blood, will you? He said. Naruto nodded before biting his thumb and spilling some of his blood on the ground. The effect was immediate. The whirlpool stopped and was replaced with a bright light. Space-time barrier ninjutsu. Uzumaki clan accomplished stuff like this thanks to a seal. Only the members of the village could access it, and since you are a blood relative, you can too, Jiraiya said. They stepped through the white bright light and found themselves in another place altogether. The village of Uzushi. Welcome to your home village, kid, Jiraiya said, smiling at the look on Naruto's face. The place was beautiful. It was built on a water body and houses and buildings were on small islands, much like the one that Naruto and Jiraiya had stood on. However, the islands were connected by planks of wood that were tied together to make a bridge of sorts, crude but effective. There were fortification seals on the planks, thus maintaining the sturdiness of the whole bridge. This is amazing, Naruto said in an awestruck tone, causing Jiraiya to laugh at him. It is, isn't it? Now let us go to the place where the leader of the clan lived, Jiraiya said as they began walking towards a huge house that could be spotted even amongst all the buildings. The buildings themselves were largely not damaged, however they had the feel of a place that had been abandoned for a long time. That was obvious, no one had lived there for a long time. As they came in front of the large house, they noticed that there was another requirement of blood. Naruto obliged again and the gates opened, revealing a huge house. Naruto, I have to stop now, Jiraiya said. Naruto looked at him with a puzzled expression on his face. This place might be booby-trapped and only Uzumaki can be safe navigating this place. I think you should go on your own, he said. Naruto nodded before leaving. Naruto explored the whole place and there was not much of note, except that he really liked the way the place was designed. However, he found a diary in one of the rooms and flipped open a page. I just got news that my daughter has found herself a lover, and I am extremely happy today. It is a person who is worthy of being an Uzumaki. After all, he is known as the Yellow Flash for a reason. The war has taken a toll on us and we have lost so much that I don't think we will make it through this. I hope she can forgive me. I don't even have the time to write these days and she seems really worried about me too. I hope they have a kid. I will leave all I have to him/her. Naruto looked at the cover of the diary. Many pages were missing. The cover read Diary of Clan Leader. He turned more pages and looked back at another entry. Today I had to send Kushina away, the saddest day of my life. I wonder if I will see her face to face again. I promised that I would send some letters, but I can never ever see my daughter again. I hope Mito-sama takes care of her. Naruto smiled. So the clan leader was his grandfather, which made him the pseudo-leader of the clan that had one person in it. He flipped more pages till he found a letter that fell to the ground. Along with it he also found a key. He opened and he read the letter. Dear grandchild. This is for the future, as I am not sure if I even get to have a grandchild. However, I know what the blood of your father and mother is like and I can predict what your blood will be like. I want to entrust to you my sword. I call it the butterfly, however, it doesn't really have a name. This sword, which you will find in the vault behind the room, which can be opened only with the key and a blood donation, is called so thanks to it being so light. It is strong but it feels like you are holding thin air. This is thanks to all the seals that have been used in the making of this blade. You can also channel elemental chakra through it. I don't know if you will ever locate this blade, but I want to make sure that if you don't, no one does. Love. Your grandfather. Naruto wiped a tear away from his eyes. The letter was short, but it made sense and was all that was needed. He found the vault behind the room and opened the lock, then made a blood donation. The door opened and there it was, the sword in all its glory. It had a greenish hue and the hilt was golden while the blade was long. Naruto reached out and held the blade in his hand, however he was surprised to see what happened next. Naruto found himself in a dark room. He stared as a giant dragon stared at him. "Uzumaki Naruto," the dragon said to him. "You seem to be of a pure heart, let us see if you can prove it to me." Naruto nodded. His grandfather hadn't said anything about a test, this was news to him. However, he expected there to be one. "I don't understand you, Uzumaki Naruto, why would you stay in the village that shunned you for what you hold inside you, why would you do that?" the dragon asked him. "Because it's my job," Naruto said, making it sound really simple. "Job? What job?" "My father sealed the fox in me because he trusted me to wield his power. Once the villagers realize that I can safely control the power that I have been blessed with, they will come around. Till then I will strive to prove myself to the world," Naruto said with a determined look on his face. "Nice answer, nothing less from the great Uzumaki. Fine, I shall entrust myself to you. I know you know what I can do, I sense that you read the letter," the dragon said. "Who are you?" Naruto asked the dragon, who smiled. "The personification of the sword in your hand, as you can see, I take the appearance of a dragon, Naruto-sama. Now it's time to return to the ordinary plane," it said. Naruto found himself back in familiar surroundings. However, he realized that he could hold the sword and he waved it around. It felt really light, it was like he was moving air with his hands. He decided to channel some chakra through it. He tried wind first and realized that the sword was elongated. He yelped in delight, he had a really useful weapon. And also a very cool one. "The sword of the butterfly, huh?" he wondered out loud. "Actually, I like being called something cooler," like the dragon wrath came the sound from the sword. "What the hell, even the sword can talk?" Naruto asked, looking at the sword. "It's called sentience, look it up in the dictionary, brat." "I know what sentience is," Naruto scoffed, to which the sword let out a small shocking which pissed off Naruto. "I had to pick up a sentient sword, didn't I?" he said, furious with himself. "Actually, it's good to have a sword to talk to, it can teach you kenjutsu and other techniques, and also, no one can ever take the sword away from you till you are alive. I see to people like that, only you may carry it, and if you have given permission to someone else, that person may also carry it, however only you may use me in battle," the sword said. "Only I can hear you, right?" Naruto asked it, the sword would have face-palmed if it was possible. "So, sword, tell me about my grandpa," Naruto said. "Are you going to call me sword?" The sword asked Naruto, who nodded. "That name is cooler than butterfly, although I have to question the sanity of a person who decides to name a sword that personifies dragon's sword, but anyway, I am going off topic. Your grandfather was Takashi Uzumaki, who was also nicknamed the Timekeeper, as he was one of the few people to have designed a seal that could alter space-time, although he had pathetic control over it. He gave birth to Kushina Uzumaki, who was chosen to be the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, just like you," the sword said. Naruto nodded. "I wasn't chosen to be Jinchuriki though, my dad had to seal it in me," he said. "Why?" "No idea, he was forced to do it, that is for sure. Someone had wrenched the control of Kyuubi and no one knows who. Apparently that secret died with my mom, and my mom, as you can tell, is dead," he said. "So I will never ever know who did it," he said. "Well, that is too bad. I presume that you will try finding out," the dragon said, which made Naruto laugh. "What would my grandpa have done?" he asked the sword. "Uzumaki are brave and noble-hearted people. I think any Uzumaki would have wanted to find out who it was. However, before we do that, there are some things your grandfather had told me to do," the sword said. "A what?" "Your inheritance, Naruto-sama, you have a lot of it. I think you deserve it. Plus there are some books on sealing. Your grandfather knew that you would have a natural affinity to sealing, and there are some really complex ones in the vault, all of which belong to you," the sword said. "Lead the way, sword," Naruto said. "Okay, although Naruto-sama, maybe you shouldn't talk out loud, you have to think of me to communicate with me, otherwise people will think you have gone cuckoo," the sword said. "Alright, I guess, but stop calling me Naruto-sama, it's weird. Just call me what I am, Naruto." "Very well," the sword said. X. Naruto opened his mouth. So did Jiraiya, except Jiraiya's mouth was much, much wider than Naruto's. What the hell?" Jiraiya shouted. Naruto was stunned speechless. It was an hour after Naruto had taken over his sword, and it had led him to the vault with all the seals. There he also found a way to deactivate all the booby traps in the house, which he did, and promptly called his godfather to check up on him too. They had followed the sword to a vault, behind which was heaps and heaps of money, gold coins and expensive-looking gems. It was also the reason for Jiraiya's open mouth. "The hell man, how can you be so lucky?" Jiraiya asked Naruto, who was puzzled himself. "Man, I will have to write a new Ika every month to make that kind of money in a lifetime. This is too much," he continued. Naruto sighed. His godfather's comical reaction wasn't enough to amuse him. "Grandpa had this place connected with a seal," he said, looking at one of the scrolls. "He used that seal to withdraw money from this place for the welfare of the village. He says it is a form of space-time ninjutsu, and it can be used only by me from anywhere, so we don't need to transport this money," Naruto finished. Jiraiya still had an open mouth. "I think you have everything we need, brat. We should get going," he said. Naruto nodded. This had been really eventful. Hopefully he wouldn't go insane with all the changes that had been taking place in his life. He had lived like a pauper till now, and all of a sudden he is richer than the Fire Daimyo himself. Naruto sighed, for now it was back to training. "I could have gone on, but I had to end it here, thanks to my less than stellar health. Now here are some things you should know." Tazuna made an appearance, finally, but it doesn't mean anything for now. This was merely a foreshadowing for a minor event in the future, can you guess? And now here is the profile for the sword itself. Sword of the Butterfly. A legendary blade forged by the dragons themselves, and enchanted with runes that allow it to channel chakra and also render it light as air, thus giving the user increased mobility. The sword is also sentient and aligns itself with the pure-hearted. It is the personification of Void, the fastest dragon to have existed. Wielders of this sword are known to be lightning quick with it. That is it. Now is my extremely lengthy author's note rant. 1. Poll closes in another 3 chapters. Now don't get me wrong, I love Hinata and I love naruhina, but don't you think it's a little too boring now to have a naruhina pairing? I mean, I will write it if she wins the poll, but I request readers to consider voting for something unorthodox and challenging. 2. The sword has a crappy name. First off, I will give a shout out to the reader who can tell me where the name Butterfly comes from. Hint, it's a video game. I want you readers to come up with a name. Next chapter 1 will write in a situation where Naruto will name the sword something other than sword. That is up to you, I suck at names. 3. I have plans for the sword, insert name here, to have a rivalry with the Samahita, thus the sentience. 4. I may have played too much with the Uzumaki clan stuff, but come on, it's fanfiction, don't be so hard on me guys. 5. Review. You see, I might sound like I am begging for reviews, but seeing reviews gives the author a huge boost in confidence. I am not saying it should be all praise, even negatives should be pointed out, so the author can improve, so please take some time to review. 6. Tell me if there is something you like to see, suggest new jutsus that you want to see used in the story, and I will do so, and give you credit where it is due. 7. Keep reading and stay safe. Later. Asterisk. It's a Minecraft reference. God, I love that game. Naruto, the Second Sage by zapisthename. Anime Naruto rated M. English, Adventure, Naruto U. Words, 88K+, faves, 2K+, follows, 1K+, published, June 4, 2012 updated, January 7, 2014. 554 Chapter 4 Graduation. Chapter 4 is here. I hope you have fun reading. Naruto is the property of Masashi Kishimoto. Please support the official release, David Bowie. Also, why you know release Naruto Chapter 590, Edo Tensei was released right. I wanna know what happens next. Note at bottom. Naruto returned alongside Jiraiya and his sword 2 days later. Sarutobi was surprised that it had only taken them that long to recover what they could from the Uzumaki clan. However, he was even more surprised when Jiraiya told him about Naruto's animal path. So you are telling me that Naruto does not need a contract to summon animals? Sarutobi asked Jiraiya, who nodded. Yes, it's one of the powers of those eyes of his. I wonder what else can they do, he said thoughtfully. Sarutobi sighed. Naruto was already progressing nicely. At this rate, he would become stronger than Sarutobi himself in no time, and he had to so that he could fulfill his dream of becoming Hokage. Sarutobi had always wanted Naruto to be Hokage, maybe not the Godame Hokage, as he felt that Naruto was too young to be his own successor, but maybe the Rokudaime Hokage was not an outlandish idea. This was because of Naruto's rich heritage. He was related to all the previous Hokages, including himself in some way or the other. Even if the idea of fate was absolute garbage, Naruto was fated to be great. What should we do about his training? Jiraiya asked Sarutobi, who smiled. Of course Jiraiya would want to train. After all, he was a genius of hard work, and this was something Sarutobi was proud of. Maybe he had realized since Orochimaru's defection that his favorite student was close to him and would never ever leave. Oh well, what do you suggest, Jiraiya-kun? He asked Jiraiya. "The training trip, let me take him with me. I can teach him loads of jutsus, make him your level. I know he can, thanks to those eyes and his hard work. He comes back to the village and then we integrate him in the ninja corps," he said. Sarutobi nodded. A good idea, but he paused. Jiraiya looked at him with curiosity. But what? I want Naruto to grow up around kids his age. I know that you will make him better, but you can leave your instructions in a sword too, right? I want him to grow up here, he said. Have you gone senile, old man? Jiraiya asked Sarutobi. You want him to stay here after all this time, after all the beatings he has taken from some of those drunk villagers? You still want to keep him? Jiraiya asked him. Jiraiya-kun, try to understand, he needs to know friendship, and while I understand that you are already quite attached to the kid as he is to you, I don't think you are the kind of person Naruto needs, as Sarutobi said. Friends? What friends? Jiraiya said. The parents tell kids to stay away from the demon brat, he said, spitting out the last two words. Sarutobi sighed again. Listen, Jiraiya, I want you to train him, but not outside the village. I want you to train him in here, is that clear? He asked Jiraiya, who scowled and eventually nodded. My reasons are a little selfish too, Jiraiya-kun. After all, he is like a grandchild. How can I just send him off on a training trip with a pervert and not expect him to come back a total peeping Tom? He asked, trying to lighten the mood. It worked. That brat will never be as good as me. I am a super pervert. He is nobody, a Jiraiya scoffed. I think you should stick to the original schedule, 2 months after Naruto's first Chunin exams, Sarutobi said. By then the brat won't need a trip, Jiraiya said before waving his hands and leaving out of the window. Windows suck, Sarutobi thought before returning back to the bowels of infernal hell that was his paperwork. Naruto resumed training soon after returning. His godfather had taken his leave and run off to do some research for his next book, or whatever the hell that was. He had left Naruto with scrolls full of jutsu, and it hadn't taken him long to master all of them. He found great satisfaction in having learned some of the techniques that were on there. However, the one thing he remembered was his fight with the old man Hokage himself. Flashback. It was almost night, and Jiraiya had just left the village 2 days ago. Naruto was training and had mastered most of the jutsu, while the sword had also taught him, or at least instructed him without any possible way of demonstration, on how to channel chakra and hold a sword. However, just then he was visited by the old man. Naruto, how's your training? He asked him. Excellent, old man. I think I can beat you, he said, smiling. Sarutobi oohed. Really? Well, do you want to spar? Ninjutsu and taijutsu only. I am afraid I cannot really keep up with kenjutsu anymore. I am too old, plus you don't look like you can still properly use that sword, he said. Yeah, all right, let us begin. And thus it began. For Naruto, he had to prove that he was now talented. He just had to beat the Hokage. He charged towards the Hokage and began laying in some punches and kicks, all of which were blocked. The old man moved on pure instinct, and yet he was blocking everything. How the hell was this even possible? Naruto-kun, he said as he blocked a palm aimed at his heart. Instinct gets better with age. When you grow up to be my age, you will know what I mean, he said, before laying in a fist of his own, which Naruto blocked. However, he stumbled, which allowed Sarutobi to lay a flurry of kicks on him. Naruto blocked all but one, which pushed him back. Naruto flipped and landed on his 2 feet. Nice, he thought as he began hand seals. Fire style, Phoenix Sage Fire, Naruto called out before blowing multiple projectiles of fire towards the old man, who made some hand seals of his own. A water style, Waterfang Bullet, he said as he himself shot out some projectiles of water from his mouth which neutralized the fire. I see you took fewer hand seals than most. That is good control, Naruto-kun, he said, making Naruto smile. Well, that's not the only thing I have which is good, he said as he formed shadow clones, about 50 of them. Let's see you dodge all 50 of them on instinct, old man, he said with a smug look on his face as he charged, but to his chagrin, Sarutobi just stood there before. Fire style, flame-flowered, the old man then jumped and spewed some fiery meteorite from his mouth that landed among the clones, effectively wiping out all but 3 of them. Great, Naruto thought, I will have to bring out the big guns now. Naruto-kun, the old man said, he had already gone through hand seals in the time that Naruto had wasted thinking about taking this to the next level. Never ever ponder in the middle of battle, you are too young to do that, he finished. Fire style, great dragon fireballs, the old man said as he launched really devastating looking fireballs in Naruto's direction. Naruto froze up for a second before. A goddamn kid, just get your head in the game will you? It was the fox to save the day. Naruto realized that he had one way of defending. A crystal style, crystal dome, he called out as he was surrounded in a dome PF crystal. The fireballs hit, however they could not do much to the barrier. Naruto smiled. He had won, now all he had to do was earth release, double suicide decapacitation. The old man had somehow emerged from underneath the ground in the dome and had stuck Naruto in the ground, who had only his head sticking out. Not bad at all, Naruto, he said smiling. Although you are a bit green, I can tell that in a few years you can defeat me without breaking a sweat. The dome receded as Naruto smiled. Who said I haven't beaten you now, old man? He asked him as the Naruto stuck in the ground poofed. Shadow clone, Saruobi thought as another Naruto emerged from the bushes. This is it, my instant kill jutsu, he said. Sarutobi's eyes widened. It took only one hand seal. What kind of control did Naruto have over this jutsu? What was he going to use? Dyorik no jutsu, Naruto called out as he transformed into a naked girl with smoke covering only the barest of her parts. Sarutobi was knocked out thanks to a nosebleed. I win, and you are a perv, Naruto thought. End flashback. Even though Naruto had technically knocked out the Hokage, he had lost, plain and simple. Any other opponent would have blown him away, and he knew it. And all the power he had would be useless as long as he did not have a brain to go alongside with it so that he could use that power properly. So he decided that he would learn and practice being a tactician, even though it was something that would take ages. He decided to speeden up the process by playing tactical games such as shogi and go, and there was one person that was willing to play with him. Shikamaru Nara was the heir of the Nara clan, and even though he was the laziest person in the class, it did not take too much scoping to realize that underneath that was a highly proficient brain that could think up strategies effortlessly. Naruto found himself asking Shikamaru for more games of shogi as the days passed, and thus he formed a friendship with both Chuji, over their competition of eating more ramen, and Shikamaru. Soon they became as close to bosom buddies as possible. The two were also close to him in a way because their parents did not discourage them from hanging out with him. They were really cool about it, and this was something Naruto did not understand. He had thought that he would have to earn the admiration of each and every person in the village, but that was not the case. Some people admired him for being as brave as he had been. And that's when Naruto came to a realization that the shinobi families did not particularly mistreat Naruto. They treated him like a normal human being with feelings, and Naruto was gratified that they would do that. For months had passed since Naruto had battled the Hokage, and even though he had fought him to the best of the abilities, he had been curb-stomped, and Naruto was itching to get another shot. However, the Hokage was now busy with what was the Chunin exams and did not have any time for Naruto to spare, which made Naruto really angry as he was getting bored. He had finally picked up on elemental manipulation and had mastered the fire element, or at least attained moderate competence in it. He would practice daily just in case. He also found a scroll on the scorch release, fire and wind combination, and the boil release, fire and water, which Naruto found extremely useful as it produced highly corrosive liquid that he knew would come in handy. He had also taken up lava release and was getting better with it. However, Naruto found that having to pretend to be a loser in the academy was taking a toll on him. It was unlike him to actually stay hidden as he was a show-off by nature. However, the stupid fox had forced him to keep his identity a secret, and that bothered Naruto a lot. To his credit, at least now he could think about the cool Uzumaki sealing techniques that he was learning at nights when he couldn't practice. He had set up an intruder seal that blew up in the intruder's face in the apartment and marked the intruder with a special dye that could not be taken off, and thus the intruder would be subject to humiliation. He got by the academy by simply pretending to sleep or actually sleeping without ever giving a damn as to what the teachers had to say to him. He found that this method had worked in the best way. He also became friends with Hinata Hyuga, who had a really bad stammering problem. At least Naruto thought he did, because she could never ever speak to him without that infernal stammer. He was also friends with Kiba Inuzuka, who was, along with Chuji and Shikamaru and Hinata, one of the few people whose parents did not tell them to stay away from him. Naruto smiled. He was training to be the greatest ever, and with any luck, he would get there. The sword also instructed him whenever possible. However, Naruto did most of his training from the scrolls that had been provided to him by Hate Gecko, who along with his girlfriend Yugao Yuzuki was one of the few ANBU assigned to protect Naruto when he was young. Hate had become some sort of a sparring partner, and Naruto loved it. He loved training with Hate, and Yugao helped out from time to time. Very soon Naruto made a name for himself, at least among the ANBU of the village, who really liked the kid, and being shinobi were able to understand where he came from. However, very soon he was going to change the opinion of some of the civilians too. On Naruto's 8th birthday, the villagers looking for him had significantly lessened, some because they knew that the ANBU had taken an interest in the boy, some others because they thought that now that his pranking had been dialed down, the influence of the demon fox had worn thin and the boy was fighting, and some others because of the rumor that had been spread not many days ago. Sunio Hattori was one of the richest merchants of Konoha, and his daughter Ayumi was the apple of his eye. But while traveling with her father and on their way to the capital of Fire Country, they were attacked by bandits and Ayumi was taken. Naruto, who had been authorized by the Hokage to take on some small C-rank missions for real-world experience, was the one who single-handedly wiped out the bandit camp and rescued a traumatized but otherwise unharmed Ayumi. At first, Sunio, who had been one of the most stringent haters of Naruto, couldn't believe his ears that Naruto had rescued his daughter. However, the Hokage had sworn him into secrecy and told him that the details of the rescuer of his daughter were to be kept quiet until the Hokage himself said so. Sunio was happy at first, as that would mean the demon brat wouldn't be credited for his achievements. However, when he heard his daughter Ayumi speak so highly of her rescuer, he decided to see what she was talking about and visited him himself. He looked at Naruto's run-down apartment and scoffed. He couldn't believe that someone could live like this, but why would he? After all, he was born rich. Hattori-san, Naruto said, opening the door he had knocked. How can I help you? I want to talk to you. Can I come inside? Hattori asked Naruto, who shook his head. Sorry, busy. Let's just talk here. I am sure you couldn't have much to say. You wouldn't want to waste time with the likes of me, I am sure, he said. Hattori could detect a tinge of cynicism in his voice. I would like to know why you saved my daughter. You knew that she is mine, and I am one of your most vocal haters. Why would you save her, and how did you get so strong? He asked Naruto, who smiled. Simple, your daughter is innocent, so why would I hold a grudge, and what kind of a person would I be if I let an innocent girl die just because I did not like her father? And even if it was you, I would have saved you, cause while I might not like you, I know that your business is important for the welfare of this village, and you are a member of the village yourself, so it is my duty as one of its protectors to save its members, he said simply. Hattori left soon after. However, he had a lot to think about, and the more he thought about it, the more he realized that if there really was demonic influence on the boy, he would have found his daughter dead. After all, what kind of a demon would be so kind? Hattori then visited the Hokage himself and asked him how much the seal influences Naruto, and the Hokage told him that the seal was a work of art, one of Yondame's greatest creations. It wouldn't just malfunction like that. Hattori had changed since then. He had become more tolerable of Naruto. He even let Ayumi visit him from time to time, and he also stopped some of the villagers from talking about him in a bad way. He also stated selling Naruto items at their ordinary price in his establishments. Soon some of the villagers came round to the fact that maybe Naruto Uzumaki was not really the demon they hated. Maybe he just protected them from the demon. Hattori never told Naruto any of this. It was just one of the things that happened with time, and the people who did notice it were sure that in time, Naruto would change the opinion of every person, because he was that kind of a guy. The next few years passed in a flash. Naruto was allowed to do some more missions sparingly. They were all low risk. Naruto was also trained by Kakashi Hatake, a student of his father who was the ANBU captain till he retired to become a Jounin sensei. This training was secretive. Naruto was also trained by Anko, who saw herself in him in the art of interrogation. Naruto was as strong as any of the elite Jounin, at least by the time academy graduation exams approached. although he was forced to maintain the facade of being dead last. Naruto also became close to Iruka Yumino, who he considered like a brother. Naruto was also responsible for Iruka and Enko going out as he had introduced them to each other, and through him they had become close. Naruto smiled as he thought about the day Enko first met Iruka. His life was good. Academy graduation exam day. Naruto is age 13. Naruto sighed. These academy exams were too easy, a stupid written test and a clone jutsu, and he was through. Of course he had to just pass the written test, although he did well on the clone jutsu, and he managed passing. However, he sighed as he looked at the list. He was at the bottom. Dead last. Great, they will never let me live this down in the future, he thought, sweating as he looked at the list. Sakura was Kunoichi of the year, thanks to her perfect written scores. Hinata and Ino were tied second. Naruto was happy for Hinata, although he could care less about Sakura and Ino. Shikamaru was just above him, and Chuji and Kiba were not too far off. Shino was the second best in class? Good for him, Naruto thought. Hey Naruto, a voice called out to him. It was Mizuki, the one teacher who Naruto was sure was trying to sabotage him in the exams. Mizuki had never liked Naruto, and try as he may to actually do something, Naruto was smart enough to escape each and every time. However, now that he had passed and was no longer going to be under the eyes of Mizuki, he wondered what could Mizuki probably have to say to him. I know you feel sorry that you are dead last, but I know of some secret test, Naruto, he said to him. Naruto raised his eyebrows. What kind of test was the bastard talking about? It will promote you directly to Chunin, and it's only given to the dead last to test whether he could prove himself to the Hokage himself, he said. Naruto was puzzled. Was Mizuki expecting him to believe this? He decided he would play along. Really? He asked, slipping into his enthusiastic voice mask as he began jumping up and down like a retarded monkey. He was probably overdoing it. Later that night. At least I get to sneak past the Hokage this time, Naruto thought. So Mizuki wanted the forbidden scroll of sealing and learn a jutsu from it. Naruto decided to tell someone until the chance to learn a jutsu from the scroll came up. He couldn't pass on it. He knew he could take care of it, so he decided that the Hokage would find out. Currently he was hiding in the office, trying as hard as possible to stay hidden. Rinnegan allowed him to mask his chakra in a way that only the best of sensors could detect him. Now time for my revenge, he thought. Over the last few years, the Hokage had defeated him in each and every spar they had ever had, much to Naruto's chagrin. However, he knew that this was all important and that the man was very, very experienced. However, in the last few months they hadn't had any spars. Agachad, he shouted, causing the Hokage, who had just entered the room and taken a seat, to jump from his chair and turn in his direction in his stance. Naruto, you scared me, Sarutobi said, before sighing and sitting back in the chair. What the hell was that for? Naruto laughed. This was for all the times you outsmarted me, old man, to show you that I could sneak up on you, he said. I can't lose to old geezers like you, he said. Sarutobi sighed. I am known as God of Shinobi, you know, it's for a reason. I won't just die that easily, he said. Naruto nodded. Yeah, you will, it's Oric no Jutsu easy, he said, causing Sarutobi to sweat. That jutsu is dangerous, he said. I am thinking of putting it in the forbidden scroll of sealing, he said. Speaking of that, Mizuki team says there is a test for the dead lasts in the academy, to steal the scroll of sealing and master a jutsu from it and earn promotion to Chunin. I know it's bullshit, but tell me, is it true? He asked the old man. TCH Naruto, where did you get that foul mouth? The old man asked him. No, it's not. I think Mizuki is a traitor. It is feasible. Why don't you go ahead with it and do what he says? I am sure you will be able to apprehend him, he said. Naruto nodded. Old man, make sure you let Mizuki know that I have taken the scroll, he said. Sarutobi nodded before giving him the scroll. Naruto, be careful with that scroll. I know you are going to learn something for yourself. I advise you to think carefully before you do that. There are jutsu on there that are really dangerous, he said. Naruto nodded. I understood. I'm heading out, he said before leaving through the window. Oh god damn it, Sarutobi sighed as he looked at the window. Okay, let's see, there is so much I can pick up from this. Thank God I have a spare scroll, he said, before forming a clone that began diligently copying all the jutsu in a scroll that Naruto would keep for himself. What the hell is this? Naruto thought, looking at one of the techniques. With style, sanctuary enlightenment and closing palm, what is this thing? That kid is what Hashirama used to control the tailed beasts. I think it will be useful if you learn it, the voice of the fox boomed. You are right, I think I should learn this, thanks Kurama, he said to the fox. What else is on here? He thought, looking at the scroll some more. The clone had finished copying the scroll by now and had dispersed, while Naruto had stashed the scroll in his storage seal. He looked at one of the genjutsu there, illusion technique, infinite darkness. Kurama, isn't that Tobarama Senju's technique? He asked the fox, who agreed. This seems easy, maybe I will learn this first, he thought to himself. 2 hours had gone since Naruto had begun practicing the genjutsu, and thanks to his clones and the Rinnegan's perfect chakra control, he had managed to learn it. It hadn't taken him too long to get the hang of it. Naruto, that voice was unmistakable, it was Iruka's. Naruto gulped, the man sounded pissed. Naruto, Iruka said, finally coming into vision. Why did you steal the scroll, Naruto? He asked him, his voice sounded like he was hurt. Iruka-sensei, Mizuki-sensei told me to. He said that if I learn a jutsu from this, I will be promoted to Chunin, Naruto said, doing his best innocent man impression, which caused Iruka's eyes to widen, so he realized what was up. Interesting. Naruto, return the scroll now, Iruka said to him. However, Naruto decided to stick his tongue out. Naruto, Iruka said, the agitation in his voice shooting up. Give me the SCRO dash. Iruka couldn't finish as a kunai hit him straight in the heart. Time stopped as Naruto turned around to see that it was Mizuki who had done it. Meanwhile, Iruka hit the ground. He was dead. Sarutobi was shocked. He had been seeing it all in his crystal ball. He couldn't believe what had happened. He was worried that this would make the fox come out. He decided that the situation called for a personal visit. Naruto, the fox said. Don't lose control, calm down. Naruto was working on pure instinct though. It was as though Naruto was being told by someone about what to do. Naruto, or should I tell you what you really are? Mizuki asked him. Naruto's eyes turned red with Tomo. The Rinnegan had been activated. Mizuki seemed to take a step back when that happened. I will deal with you personally, Naruto said, slowly and menacingly, which took Mizuki by surprise. However, Mizuki recovered. Oh sure, a dead last loser like you will take care of me, a Chunin. I believe you all right, he said mockingly. However, Naruto had already activated the hand seals. Illusion technique, infinite darkness, he said, as Mizuki's eyes rolled, before he was surrounded by what Naruto would imagine was complete darkness. Mizuki began thrashing around trying to break the genjutsu, however, it seemed too strong for him to break. Naruto, on the other hand, was taken over again by something that seemed to control him. I will save you, Iruka-sensei, he said before doing the hand seals. Naraka path, he said as a giant statue that could only be described as demonic came out of nowhere. It had Naruto's special Rinnegan eyes on it. The statue extended its tongue and took in Iruka. Green light surrounded the statue as Iruka was taken inside. A king of hell, Kyubi said with fear in its voice. How? Iruka was in the dark. I died, I can't believe it. What will I tell Anko when she gets here? She is going to kill me again. And what about Naruto? I had wanted to be there when he would become Hokage, but now that will never happen. Iruka's familiar voice called out to him. Ages seemed to pass as Iruka turned and looked at the source of the voice. His father along with his mother. I am Mom, Dad, Iruka said stammering. So I am dead, he said. And not yet, just in limbo. The death god will come soon and take you away. However, where you will go we do not know, his father said sadly. Iruka began crying. I am sorry, Iruka, both of us are, for dying on you like that. However, I am very proud of you. So is your father for what you have become, his mother said. Iruka lost it as he began bawling. He couldn't believe what had happened. However, just then something seemed to pull him. Green energy. Iwao, Iruka's father said. Looks like you have work to do, son. I guess you will not join us here yet, he said. I am proud of you, Iruka-kun, his mother said. Iruka smiled as he felt the energy pull on him. Naruto stared transfixed as the statue with his eyes pulled Iruka out, before green light enveloped his body. What the hell, Iruka sputtered as he got up. His knife wound was healed. It was unreal. You are more similar to the sage than I thought, Kit. He was the only one I know that could do this. This technique is called the samsara of heavenly life, the fox said as Naruto watched Iruka get up, before he ran to the teacher and tackled him. I thought you had died, he said sobbing as Iruka looked really uncomfortable and slightly choked. I am fine now Naruto, I wonder how it happened though, he said to Naruto who was still sobbing. He then turned his eyes on Mizuki who was still thrashing about, seemingly enveloped in darkness. What happened to him Naruto? Mizuki asked him. Naruto turned towards Mizuki and released the jutsu that had put him in complete darkness. Deha, I knew I broke it, Mizuki said triumphantly as he looked at Naruto before he turned and saw a fully revived Iruka. The expression on Mizuki's face betrayed the complete horror he was feeling, however he was even more horrified at the demonic-looking statue that was facing him. The statue stared at Mizuki as something like a serpent-shaped tongue emerged from his mouth and connected to the statue. Naruto walked up to him as Iruka stared at him, dazed with what he was seeing. You did not dash, Naruto said as he put his hands on Mizuki's throat. Break it, he finished. I spared you, he said. To have mercy, Mizuki cried out, however Naruto was in no mood to do anything of that sort. Tell me then, why did you want the scroll, he asked Mizuki. I wanted to blame you for its theft while I escaped, I wanted the power for myself so that I could prove myself to Orochimaru-sama, he said. I see, Naruto said as the tongue withdrew from the body of Mizuki who slumped down, looking extremely exhausted. You have survived judgment, he said simply, but I don't know if you will survive Ibiki-san's torture, he finished. The old man, you can come out now, he said. Naruto, what did you do to him and how? Sandaime asked him coming out of the woods. Naruto simply pointed out his eyes. Sarutobi was shocked as he saw Iruka alive. Iruka, I thought you were Dash. I was Hokage-sama, but Naruto here saved me, he said. Naruto, how powerful are those eyes of yours? Sarutobi thought awestruck. I would have cut the head off this bastard, but I left sword back home, Naruto said. You need to get this bastard interrogated, man. I have to prepare for my ninja orientation that is day after, he said, before sunshining out of sight. Paperwork, Sarutobi thought sighing as Naruto left behind a confused Iruka and an unconscious Mizuki. Ninja teams, Naruto thought, smiling as he stared at the academy building. It was 2 days after the Mizuki incident and things were back to normal, except for the fact that Anko had punished Iruka in her own way. For some reason when Iruka was asked by him about it, he turned red like a tomato. Iruka said something about thank God you are alive fun moment that Naruto did not understand, to which Iruka told him that he would when as an adult. Naruto asked Yugao about it and she told him that she and Hate did it every time one of them came back from a mission that was a ranked or above, however Naruto was still not sure about what that meant. Naruto walked into the academy and went straight into the classroom and found to nobody's surprise Shikamaru slumped across his desk. Hey, wake up lazy bones, Naruto said walking up to him and smacking him in the head, which made Hinata who was right there giggle. Troublesome, Shikamaru said. Why do you wake me up all the time? Yo, come on Shika, it's time for the ninja groupings to be announced, Naruto said as Sakura and Ino came running inside. They were probably eyeing the seat next to Sasuke. He sighed, I don't want either of those fangirls on my team, he thought. 5 minutes later. Team 7 Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno, Iruka said. What the hell? Naruto shouted as Shikamaru was jolted awake. 0. Could not go any further, the next chapter will kick off official canon. We had Naruto discover the Naraka path. Can you guess which path Naruto discovers next? Hinata was leading the poll, however she is being provided stiff competition by a kunoichi from the cloud. Let me remind you to vote as I will pull off the poll after chapter 5 is out. About 60 people have done it so far. I couldn't name Naruto's sword as I thought there would be other places to do it. However, I did write Naruto to be a darling of the ANBU, which is understandable as they are ninja and are more capable of seeing underneath the underneath. Also, I hope to write better fight scenes in the future. This was just a test run, I hope you like it. Also, I hope you are fine with the Naruto and Hattori incident. There won't be senseless bashing in this FIC, so it is obvious that Naruto will change opinions and win over people as he wouldn't be Naruto if he didn't. Keep reading and leave a review, vote on the poll. Later. Naruto, the Second Sage by zapisthename. Anime Naruto rated M. English Adventure Naruto U. Words 88K+, faves 2K+, follows 1K+, published June 4, 2012, updated January 7, 2014. 554 Chapter 5 Bell Test. Hello there, ninja readers of ninja fanfiction of ninja anime of Ninja Naruto, which is a show about ninjas, apparently. I can't believe I turned in a chapter so quickly, but I was inspired. This one is the Bell Test. Wave arc starts from next chapter on. There is a situation with adult implications between Iruka and Anko, nothing explicit, that I had to write because it was bugging me so much. Read and review and vote. Team 7 Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno, Iruka said. What the hell? Naruto shouted as Shikamaru was jolted awake. I don't want her on my team, Iruka-sensei, change my team please, he said in a voice that indicated his total disbelief of the situation. However, Iruka just scowled. Naruto, the teams are decided by the Hokage, so if you have any problem with the arrangements, go take it up with him, he said to Naruto. Meanwhile, Sakura was torn between being angry and being happy. I am on Sasuke-kun's team, but even Naruto Baka is on it. I don't know whether to laugh or cry, as she said. Shikamaru sighed, as did Chuji. Sorry Naruto, Chuji said, eating a packet of chips that always seemed to be in his hand. I don't envy you being in the team which consists of a brooder and a total fangirl, but hey, he said, laughing. Shikamaru just sighed. Troublesome, why are we so bothered about the teams anyway? He asked Naruto, who playfully bashed him on the head, causing Shikamaru to glare. No one disturbed his sleep. Your sensei, Iruka continued, is Kakashi Hatake, he finished. You alright, Naruto said happily, which made Sakura and Sasuke look at him curiously. Inu-san is probably the best teacher we could have gotten. He was the captain of ANBU till 2 years ago, before he retired and became a Jounin sensei, he explained to them. Sakura seemed indifferent while Sasuke was smirking. Yes, Sasuke thought. With the guidance of the strongest ANBU in the village, I will gain the power to defeat my brother. Teammate Iruka continued, giving up on all the distractions that were taking place at the moment and simply reading on. Hinata Hyuga Kiba Inuzuka and Shino Aburame. Your sensei is Yuhi Kurenai, he finished. Do you know about Kurenai to Naruto? Sasuke asked him. Naruto shook his head. She only got recently promoted, so I don't have any info, but what is it to you anyway? He asked Sasuke, who said nothing. Team 10 Iruka continued, as Team 9 or Team Guy is still in circulation, Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, Chuji Akimichi, he said, which lead to a giant and resounding what from one Ino Yamanaka, while Naruto realized that the Ino Shikacho trio was being reformed. Iruka-sensei, I don't want to be on a team with the fat guy and the lazy guy, Ino screeched. However, before Chuji could react, Shikamaru just sighed and went back to sleep. Naruto stopped him. Well, Ino, the guy you call lazy and the guy you call fat are much more competent with their little fingers than you are, so just shut up will you, he said, which stunned Ino. Sakura cheered. Ihuhu Ino, the dead last put you in your place, what a shame, Sakura said with a smug look on her face. You are no better, Sakura, actually you are worse than me, or anyone, or even Konohamaru, who is an 8-year-old kid, even he can beat you in a one-on-one, he said, shrugging. Sasuke smirked. However, Naruto was not finished. You didn't actually think that Sasuke will go out with you, did you? I mean, look at him, he wants more power to kill a certain someone, weaklings like you will just slow him down, he said. Plus you have a really wide forehead, so dashed, he finished before walking away. Naruto, Ino called out. That was uncalled for, she said. However, Naruto shrugged his shoulder. He was at the door now while Iruka was watching him with a shocked look on his face. He had thought that Naruto secretly liked Sakura. A clasped Naruto said, your senseis will pick you up after lunch, Team 7, ours will be 3 hours late, screw this, I'm leaving, he said as he exited the room. Iruka took 5 seconds to recover from that before saying, like he said, class, dismissed. Naruto. It was at the Ichiraku ramen hut and Naruto was midway his 5th bowl of ramen when Sasuke called him. Naruto turned, scowling. He did not like being disturbed while eating ramen. Yes, Sasuke, what is it? Naruto asked him. I know you are stronger than you let on, he said. Naruto raised an eyebrow. I hope, he said, feigning ignorance. I saw you in the training grounds yesterday. Tell me, who taught you that Bansho Tenin Jutsu? I want to learn it too, he said. Naruto smirked. No, he said simply. Sasuke glared at Naruto. I am Rookie of the Year, you are dead last. How can I not learn this strong jutsu while you can? He asked Naruto, who decided to put him out of his misery. Listen Sasuke, you can't learn it, it's my bloodline limit, he said, which caused Sasuke's eyes to widen. You have a clan? He asked Naruto, who nodded. Yep, Uzumaki clan from Uzushigakure. They were wiped out some years ago. My mother was the last survivor. We had the jutsu that attracted everything towards ourselves, so sorry I can't teach you, he said. No one taught me either, I just know it, he finished. Daichin, as Sasuke said as Naruto pulled out a chair for him, asking him to sit down. Sasuke looked at him before deciding to sit anyway. You know, when your family died, I was really happy, he said, which made Sasuke glare at him, and Naruto realized what he had just said. Oh no, not like that. I mean, I was sad that the whole clan was wiped out, but I was secretly happy that you survived, 'cause I thought I would have a person who knew the same loneliness I have known all my life, he said. Sasuke looked at him puzzled. What do you mean? He asked Naruto. I mean, I was always lonely like you. I was in the orphanage and then I was kicked out. For 2 days I was on the streets till the old man gave me a place, he said sighing, so I thought we could be friends or something. Then why didn't you say anything then? He asked Naruto, who shrugged his shoulders. I thought the obsession with revenge won't let you have friends, he said simply, to which Sasuke nodded. Listen, we have to be cooperative with each other to be a fully functional team, he said to Sasuke, who nodded again in agreement. Good, you are smarter than the Banshee. Okay, tomorrow we will be given a test. No matter what it is, we have to work as a team. Trust me, I know Kakashi, he stresses on the importance of teamwork, so we will work together, understood? He asked Sasuke, who just nodded. Good, Naruto said smiling. Old man, gimme another bowl, he said enthusiastically. Sasuke stared at him. This guy was different. If he was as lonely as he said he was, why did he smile so often? Why did he not brood much like Sasuke himself did? I will have a beef ramen, as Sasuke said to Iam, who smiled and nodded, telling him that it would be coming right up. Anko, someone might see us, Iruka said. Anko Mitarashi smirked. That's what makes it so interesting, she said smiling. They were in Iruka's office. Iruka was on the desk while Anko was on his lap. Do you know how sacred I was? She asked him. When I had heard that a kunai was buried in your chest, I thought they were true. Thank God the rumors were not true, as she said, twirling her finger across his cheeks. Iruka smiled. They hadn't told Anko that he was brought back to life by Naruto, who apparently had a bloodline limit. He shuddered as he thought what Anko would do if she ever found out. Anyway, Anko said, I am glad that you are alive, so I will reward you, as she said, getting up from his lap and kissing him wildly. Anko, Iruka said, stammering. Yes, stop it, please, he said, getting worked up. Anko shook her head. Now the desk was facing the door, so all someone peeping through the door could see was Iruka, a really flustered Iruka. That is exactly what Kurenai and Asuma saw as they came into his office, without knocking. Anko went under the desk in a flash, trying to hide. Hey Iruka, Asuma Sarutobi said. The resemblance to his father was undeniable. He was the spitting image of his father when he was younger. Kurenai was a beautiful woman with wild hair and red eyes. She was the object of desire of many men in the village. However, the object of Iruka's desire was under his desk, pleasuring him. Crap, Iruka thought to himself. Iruka, are you alright? Kurenai asked him. Iruka merely nodded. Oh wait, I sent someone, Asuma said. At that moment many things happened. Naruto sunshined straight into Iruka's office from the window, while Anko stiffened under the desk, which caused Iruka a great deal of pain as he let out a large OW. Iruka-sensei, what is Anko-chan doing under the table? Naruto asked him. I can see her trench coat from here, he said. Busted, Iruka thought to himself. Anko is under the table? Kurenai asked Asuma, who began laughing like a madman. Meanwhile Anko came out from under the table, blushing wildly while Iruka could have sunk. His head was really bowed down. Realization struck upon Kurenai as she began laughing too, while Naruto stayed there puzzled. What the hell, man? He asked them. There was a moment of silence before everyone in the room except Iruka and Naruto began laughing. Screw this, Iruka-sensei, I wanted to talk to you. I'll do it later, he said as he sunshined again. Kurenai noticed this and asked Asuma if Naruto could do the sunshin. Asuma nodded. It's not what it looks like, Anko said to Asuma. Sure it isn't, Asuma said to her, grinning. It was 3 hours since Naruto had found Anko under Iruka's desk. He wondered what the hell was wrong with both of them, but he didn't have much time to speculate as he found himself sitting beside Sasuke and Sakura, who asked him where he was, waiting for Kakashi to show up. Where did you go? Sasuke asked Naruto, who sighed. Nah, just went to meet Iruka-sensei, but he was busy, so I went back home to kill some time. What did you do? Nothing, Sasuke said. Sasuke-kun, Sakura said, rubbing her fingers together in a manner that Naruto realized infuriated him. A what? Sasuke asked her, however Sakura did not say a single word and continued rubbing her fingers, which made Naruto angrier than he already was. Will you stop that? He asked her politely. She nodded and stopped. I was wondering if you would go out with me, she said, blushing while looking at Sasuke. No, Sasuke said. I don't have time to waste with you, I have to get stronger. I will help you, Sasuke-kun, with me you can grow stronger, Sakura said pleadingly while Naruto snorted. Please, he said, which made Sakura glare at him. Naruto baka, you say that I am weak, but you aren't any strong either. I can easily defeat you, you know, as she said with confidence. This time Sasuke snorted. He knows already not to underestimate me, Sakura, but maybe I will take you up on that. Now Sasuke, did you tell her what you have to do tomorrow? He asked Sasuke, who nodded. No way, I am working as a team with you, Naruto baka, you come last in every test. How can I take your word? I was number 1 in written tests. Even if there is one tomorrow, I will pass with flying colors, and so will Sasuke-kun. You will fail, as she said confidently. Sakura, you will never make it anywhere. I think you dying on our first mission is good for you. I don't want to see you get humiliated as time wears on, Naruto said, immediately regretting saying that while Sakura was visibly looking shaken. What do you mean by that? She asked him, too bothered by what he had said to actually pretend being angry. Sorry, but if you think that written skills are important while being a ninja, you will die on our first serious mission. I think you should just give up and become a teacher or something, because people like you are the ones who die first, he said. Sakura did not speak after that. While Naruto looked guilty for having indirectly wished her death, Sasuke, who was watching the whole thing, merely had a puzzled expression on his face. That is when Kakashi Hatake came in. Team 7? He called out. The whole room was empty, but the 3 people nodded anyway. Kakashi's sweat dropped. These guys looked really glum. I am sorry I am late, he said, hoping that was not the reason of their sadness. So, Kakashi-sensei, what happened? Lost on the road of life? Naruto asked him. Kakashi smiled, or at least his eyes did. I see you have learned some things from me, eh? Naruto, he thought. Now all I have to do is give him an orange book to read and corruption will be complete. Just wait, Jiraiya-sama, the boy will be my image, not yours, Kakashi thought, which brought a weird goofy grin on his face, which did not go unnoticed by the team itself. Hey, sensei, stop daydreaming about those pornographic books and do something, will ya? Naruto said. Sasuke and Sakura nodded. I am losing face here, Kakashi thought, sweating. My first impression of you guys, you are all annoying. Meet me on the roof, he said before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. See you guys on the roof, Naruto said, before vanishing in a sparkle of electricity. How did he do that? Sasuke thought. That was so cool, Sakura thought. The two made it to the roof and found Naruto sitting there adjusting his headband. Kakashi was sitting there looking really bored. It looked like the two were having a conversation. What do you mean? Electricity looks cooler than leaves. I won that one, Naruto said. However, Kakashi shook his head. Nope, I still think leaves are cooler, he said. What are you guys talking about? Sakura asked them. They shook their heads. Nothing of importance, Pinky. Now we all introduce ourselves, our likes and dislikes, and our dreams for the future, Kakashi said. Sakura was glaring at the Pinky remark, while Naruto was smirking. You first, Inu-sensei, he said. Kakashi let out a small which indicated his displeasure of being called that. Okay, I am Kakashi-sensei. I like a lot of things. I dislike a lot of things. My dreams for the future are none of your damn business, he said, which made Sakura and Naruto's seat drop. All he told us was his name, Naruto thought. You first, Sakura, Kakashi said. I am Sakura Haruno, I like dashed she said before blushing at Sasuke, my dreams for the future dashed she said before letting out a perverse giggle that Kakashi would have been proud of. I dislike Ino and Naruto baka de she said, hoping Naruto would be disheartened, but the effect was the opposite. Naruto was really pleased at this for some reason. Blondie goes next to Kakashi said. Naruto Uzumaki, I like ramen and my friends, I dislike a lot of things, wide foreheads with pink hairs are included he said, looking at Sakura who was seething upon hearing this. Dreams for the future, I want to become Hokage and protect the village, for it is my duty, and also restore my clan to greatness, he said. Naruto baka, you don't have a clan, why are you lying? You are just a clanless loser, I'm sure your parents were stupid idiots who left you cause they realized you were worse than them, Sakura said to him, trying to take a potshot at Naruto for having insulted her. Oh, Kakashi thought as Naruto stuck one of his hands and turned away from them. The Bansho Tenin he said as Sakura flew towards him, while another hand formed a blue swirling ball that looked dangerous. Sakura came and his hand landed straight on her neck as the other hand with the blue ball came very close to her head, however at the very last moment, the ball disappeared, and Naruto simply smacked Sakura on her forehead. You could have died Sakura-chan, he said spitting every word. Be glad that you are a comrade, Naruto finished, while Kakashi was sweating, he thought for sure that Naruto would finish her off. Do not insult my family ever again, do you hear me, he said, tightening the grip on her necks. Sakura nodded, the message received loud and clear. This guy Sasuke thought. How much is he hiding from all of us? Sasuke thought. Sasuke, are you going to introduce yourself? Naruto said as he released Sakura who was coughing and looking at Naruto, eyes full of fear. I am Sasuke Uchiha, I don't particularly like or dislike anything, my dream is to restore my clan and kill a certain someone. Gyokaya Kakashi said, meet me at training ground 10 tomorrow, at 5 am, for your final test before you become a genin, he said, sighing when he realized that they already knew that they were going to take a test. Don't eat breakfast, he said, you will puke it out if you do, he finished. Team 7 nodded. Dismissed to Kakashi said, Naruto, you stay back, I want to talk to you, he said. Sasuke and Sakura left while Kakashi stared at Naruto, there was almost a 5-minute long silence between them before Kakashi spoke up. What was that? Why? He asked Naruto. Did she insulted my parents, I can stand it if she insults me, but she insulted my mom and dad, the reason she is alive right now, he said. Kakashi sighed. Naruto, I know, but in your life as a ninja you will find that many people will try to goad you into getting a reaction. Are you going to foolishly be goaded into doing something reckless? He asked Naruto, who shook his head. Remember, Kushina and Minato-sensei were very close to me too, they meant everything to me ever since my teammates had passed away, and I was angry too, but did you see me prepare a Chidori to shove down her chest? He asked Naruto, who shook his head. I know you are still a little green, but you need to learn to control your emotions, he said. You okay? He asked Naruto, who nodded before smiling. I guess I will apologize to her tomorrow, he said. See ya Kakashi-sensei, he said before vanishing in a crackle of electricity. That was cool, I wonder how he did that, Kakashi thought before leaving. Uzumaki, I am talking to you, the voice said. Naruto was just outside his apartment when he heard someone call out to him. He turned around and saw that it was a pink-haired woman who was like Sakura, except she was a bit more adult-looking. Can I ask you why you threatened killing my daughter? After all, I have never ever mistreated you like the others, as she said. It was true, Sakuya Haruno knew that Naruto was different from the monster, because she knew his mother, Kushina Uzumaki. She was one of the few civilians aware of Kushina's Jinchuriki status, and Kushina was one of her best friends, alongside Hitomi Hyuga. Who are you? Naruto asked the woman, who was clearly Sakura's mother. Sakuya Haruno, as she said. Well, she insulted my parents, you know that? He asked her. She shook her head. Sakura had left that bit out. I can't stand anyone insulting my parents, and so I lost control of the situation. I will apologize tomorrow, he finished. You know who your parents are? Sakuya asked him. How? Your parents died on the night the Kyuubi was sealed into you. I mean, so many deaths on that day, no one actually knows who exactly are your parents, she said. Naruto smiled. So, you think I am a demon, he said. Sakuya shook her head. She thought the boy had been given a raw deal and wanted to tell him that. You are really courageous, he said. I wish Konoha had ninjas like you, he said. Sakuya was confused. What do you mean by that? She asked him. Naruto stared at the woman. You go against the villagers like that, eh? I wish there were more people like you, he said simply. And by the way, I know who my parents were, but I don't think I will tell you, he said before pulling her inside the apartment and sitting her down on a chair in the apartment. Now Sakuya was petrified. What are you going to do to me? She asked, scared. Naruto smiled. Nothing, just give you something to drink because you seem friendly, he said as he took out a glass and poured some orange soda in it, before taking a swig from the bottle and giving the glass to Sakuya to drink. Not poisoned, Naruto said as Sakuya looked at him shocked. Naruto, I don't think dash. I just drink, he said. I apologize to you. I wish your daughter was as tolerable as you are. I guess that wide forehead of yours holds some intelligence, unlike your daughter, he said smiling. Sakuya smiled. Your mother used to make fun of me too, as she said. Kushina, you are more like her. Unfortunately, I don't know who your father is, but I can guess, she said. You knew my mother? Naruto asked her in shock. Sakuya nodded. Yes, she had that demon fox in her as well. She was just like you, so I do not hate you like the others, as she said to him. Can you tell me about my mother? He asked her, desperate to know anything. She nodded and spent most of the night telling him funny things about his mother. As she was leaving, Naruto promised that he would apologize to Sakura first thing tomorrow. However, Sakuya waved him off and told him that Sakura would be punished for what she had said to Naruto before leaving. She also implored Naruto to visit from time to time for dinner. Naruto promised her that he would visit. The next morning Naruto showed up at 7 in the morning to find Sakura and Sasuke, both of them looking a bit angry at the fact that Naruto had shown up 2 hours late. Kakashi was still nowhere in sight. Naruto, can I speak to you? Sakura asked him, before taking him to a secluded place away from Sasuke. My mother says I have to apologize to you, and I agree with her. Apparently my mother knows your mom, and she says that I insulted one of her best friends. Please forgive me, she said slowly. Naruto smiled. Think nothing about it, Sakura, it's my fault too. This wouldn't have happened had I lost my temper, but I think I am glad it happened, cause I found something close to family and your mom told me lots of things about mine, so all is forgiven. I hope you can do the same for me, he said. She nodded. It's my fault, Naruto. I always wanted to prove myself to Sasuke-kun, and I was just not behaving the way I should have, but I had time to think. You are stronger. Yesterday you could have taken my head off and I was angry at first, but the more I thought about it, I realized that all I have ever done is hold you back. It's my fault, she said to him. Naruto smiled. You know, you could always train and get stronger. Maybe Sasuke will notice you more, he said. Sakura smiled. You really think so? She asked him. Naruto nodded. Unless he is gay, that is, but I don't think he is, he said, which made Sakura giggle. Can you help me grow stronger so that I can impress Sasuke-kun? She asked him. Naruto's grin faded. I will help you grow stronger, but I will only do that the moment you get your priorities right, he said. Upon seeing Sakura's expression, he decided he would elaborate. Sasuke is not the reason you should grow strong. You should gain strength to protect your precious people. The day you realize this, I will help you, but I don't think I will need to help you then, for you will grow stronger no matter what, he said. And trust me, don't let people tell you hold them back. Try proving them wrong. Train to show that they are wrong. There is no greater satisfaction in life than proving the naysayers wrong. Trust me, he said smiling. Sakura smiled too. Friends? She asked him, extending her hand. Naruto smiled. Sure, just try not fangirling too much and we will be fine, he said, taking her hand and shaking it. Sakura scowled at that before smiling again. Naruto saw Sasuke coming towards them and smiled. Alright people. Whatever this test is, we have to work as a team, so as long as we do that, we will be fine. Ready? He asked them. They nodded. Just then Kakashi materialized from out of nowhere, and saw Team 7 sitting together. They looked united. Looks like they will pass. I hope they stay this way. We might have one of the strongest team to come out of Konoha ever since the 3 legendary Sannin themselves. Good, sorry I am late. I was helping an old woman with her groceries, he said. Naruto smiled. I came late too, Kakashi-sensei. I was lost on the road of life and was looking for a map. Good, now for your test. all you have to do is take these bells from me. If anybody does not do that by lunch, I send you back to the academy, he said simply. Alright, begin, he said as he attached the 2 bells hanging around his waist. Team 7 was hiding together. There are 3 of us and only 2 bells, what do we do, Naruto? Sasuke asked him. Kakashi never said that each of us have to grab a bell, so we will divide those bells into 3 and pass. Now here's the plan, I fight him first and hold him, Sasuke and Sakura can sneak around him and try to grab the bells, alright? He asked them. Naruto, why don't you just do your gravity technique you used on me? Sakura asked him. I can't, the aim is difficult as the area I am aiming for is very thin. Don't worry, we'll pass, he said before stepping out. Keep eyes on him, Sakura, we have to sense the appropriate moment and steal the bells, Sasuke said. Sakura nodded. She had to be successful and not hold anyone back. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said, his Rinnegan eyes activated as he stared calmly at Kakashi. Don't hold back, he said simply. Kakashi smiled. Those eyes, Sasuke and Sakura thought together, what happened to them? You think you can survive a full onslaught from me? He asked Naruto, who nodded. We have never sparred, have we? He asked him. Kakashi nodded. Okay then, Kakashi-sensei, he said, smiling. Lesson 1, Taijutsu, he said before disappearing and reappearing behind Kakashi and lashing out a palm at him, which Kakashi barely got to. Naruto unleashed a flurry of jabs and kicks while trying to land a hit, however to Kakashi's credit, he blocked them all. However, the fight was getting too hard to focus onto the naked eyes and Sasuke and Sakura were feeling it. I can't keep up, when did he get so strong? Sasuke thought. Naruto, Sakura thought. The fight continued before Naruto finally managed landing a kick, however Kakashi flipped away and landed at some distance. Naruto immediately formed hand seals. Lesson 2, Genjutsu, Naruto said as Kakashi's eyes widened. Naruto had too much chakra to perform those. Illusion technique, infinite darkness, Naruto said, and the effect was instantaneous. Kakashi was surrounded by complete darkness, but to Sakura and Sasuke it did not really matter. So you can do this too, he asked Naruto, however he couldn't see Naruto nodding. Too bad, Naruto, you will find that even in darkness, I am really very competent, he said. We'll see about that, Naruto said as they began exchanging blows again. Kakashi was relying on sound to counter Naruto. With more mastery of this technique, you will be able to cancel out sound too, and then I will be in trouble, Kakashi said simply as he was blocking. Back behind the bushes, Sasuke realized what happened. Sakura, Kakashi is in a genjutsu, come on, we have a chance, let's go, he said. Sakura nodded and followed Sasuke as they began making their way towards Kakashi. The battle was still raging though, maybe you wanna check, there are some ways I can break this, Kakashi said before slashing himself with a kunai. Pain, shit, Naruto thought. Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi said, teasing them, as he threw a kunai into the bush nearby. They were closer, they were trying to sneak up to Kakashi. Nice try, but too late, Kakashi said as Sasuke rushed out trying to get the drop on him. But did you think that would work? He asked Sasuke mockingly. Fire style, Phoenix flower technique, Sasuke said, shooting out small balls of fire that Kakashi effortlessly dodged. Naruto took the opportunity. A wind style, divine wind, he said as 4 pillars of wind formed and made their way towards Kakashi as they kicked up dirt from the ground. Sasuke caught onto what Naruto was doing and left small fireballs towards the wind, which immediately ignited and came blazing towards him. There was a massive ball of fire when the jutsu made contact with Kakashi, but when the smoke cleared, it was not Kakashi who was present, but a log. Damn it, Sasuke thought. Sakura, Naruto called out. Kakashi had emerged behind Sakura as Naruto did not have any idea about what to do, so he did the first thing that came to his mind. He sunshined towards Sakura and managed taking her before Kakashi could strike. The crackle of electricity held Kakashi back, which gave Sasuke enough time to perform a jutsu of his own. Fire style, fireball jutsu, Sasuke said, inhaling and forming a large fireball that was burning everything in its path and heading towards Kakashi, who jumped away in time, only to land into a trap. Who set a trap so fast? Kakashi thought as he substituted himself, barely doing it in time as he escaped. This bastard keeps escaping, Sasuke said. Sakura and Naruto watched it from a distance. That was impressive, Naruto said as he let Sakura go, who thanked him. That's what teammates do, he said. Think nothing about it, he said, smiling. Oh really? Kakashi asked him. He had emerged behind him as he hit Naruto on the head. Sakura, now would be a good time, Naruto said as the kunai's hilt landed and Naruto dissolved into wood. A wood clone? Kakashi thought, how is that possible? Sakura realized what had happened and seized the bells and made a run for it. She ran into the clearing where she found Naruto and Sasuke smiling at her. She had done it. Good job, Sakura, Sasuke said as he cut one bell into two and gave one half to Naruto, keeping the other for himself, while giving Sakura a whole bell. I am a Kakashi said, smiling. Nice job. Not only did Naruto keep me busy and provided shock value, Sasuke and Sakura performed their jobs admirably. I dare say you seized the bells from me, so you passed, he said. Naruto smiled. Maybe a team wouldn't be so bad after all. Done, another one is in the bag. Man, I am on fire today. This chapter was fun to write, and I am officially ending the Sakura bashing. I decided that I would make her more like her post-time skip character as soon as possible, plus I do no indulge in Sasuke bashing anyway. The reason I put Sakuya Haruno in such a good light is cause every story portrays her as a dastardly little bitch and I don't like that, so I thought why not change it. I hope you liked this chapter. I had fun writing it. I did it in one sitting too, so I guess that was awesome. Now the poll will be closed within the next few days, interesting as Hinata is currently tying with a Cloud Kunoichi and I really hope we don't have a tiebreaker. Naruto will discover a new path next chapter. Guess which one it is. I will give you a cookie, not. Read and review and PM me your doubts, not that you have any. Later. Before I live though, here are the pairings. The time to make any changes would be now. Send me a PM if you want to see changes. Naruto/undecided, the poll will decide. Sasuke/Sakura. Shikamaru/Temari. Neji/Tenten. Rock Lee/Femhaku, I think their pairing will be hilarious. Chuji/Ino. Kiba/some random woman. Shino/Bugs. Tell me what you think about it, and while you're at it, help me decide pairings for Kiba and Shino. I like Shino, I don't want Shino to hook up with Bugs. Once again later. Naruto, the Second Sage by zapisthename. Anime Naruto rated M, English, Adventure, Naruto U, words, 88K+, faves, 2K+, follows, 1K+, published, June 4, 2012 updated, January 7, 2014. 554 Chapter 6, Tazuna and the Waves. Hello world, and this is Chapter 6 of my ninja fanfiction. I hope you had a good time. I would like to wish a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, wherever they are. Your job is as tough as a mother's and you deserve as much commendation as a mother does. Now the pairing poll has been closed, and let me tell you, it was one of the most exciting things ever following those polls, because the winner came from nowhere. Seriously, she was in third place for all but the last few hours of the poll. I will explain more at the bottom. I want to buy Naruto, how much will it cost me? Note, corrected a major formatting error. I hope everything is fine now. And on with the story. Fire style, fireball jutsu, Sasuke said, inhaling and forming a large fireball that was burning everything in its path and heading towards Kakashi, who jumped away in time, only to land into a trap. Who set a trap so fast, Kakashi thought as he substituted himself, barely doing it in time as he escaped. This bastard keeps escaping, Sasuke said. Sakura and Naruto watched it from a distance. That was impressive, Naruto said as he let Sakura go, who thanked him. That's what teammates do, he said. Think nothing about it, he said, smiling. Oh really? Kakashi asked him. He had emerged behind him as he hit Naruto on the head. Sakura, now would be a good time, Naruto said as the kunai's hilt landed and Naruto dissolved into wood. A wood clone? Kakashi thought, how is that possible? Sakura realized what had happened and seized the bells and made a run for it. She ran into the clearing where she found Naruto and Sasuke smiling at her. She had done it. Good job, Sakura, Sasuke said as he cut one bell into two and gave one half to Naruto, keeping the other for himself, while giving Sakura a whole bell. I am a Kakashi said, smiling. Nice job. Not only did Naruto keep me busy and provided shock value, Sasuke and Sakura performed their jobs admirably. I dare say you seized the bells from me, so you passed, he said. Naruto smiled. Maybe a team wouldn't be so bad after all. I think you guys realize the importance of working as a team, because in the shinobi world, those who disobey the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Always remember that, and make sure that you guys work together like you did today, and we might have one of the best teams to ever come out of this village, Kakashi said, which made Naruto and Sakura smile with pride while Sasuke merely smirked. Naruto, what are those eyes? They look weird, Sakura said, indicating the strange ripple-patterned eyes that Naruto possessed. That single tomo there is like the sharingan. I wonder what that is that a dojutsu? Sasuke asked him. Naruto sighed, about time that he said something to someone about his abilities. Yes, he said. Like the sharingan, this is also a dojutsu, it's called the Rinnegan, but I want you to keep it quiet, he said to Sasuke, who nodded. Why do you want to keep it quiet, Naruto? Sakura asked him. I have my reasons, just do what I say for now, don't tell anyone, it'll be alright then, Naruto said. His teammates nodded. What power do those eyes give you? Is that the power of gravity I saw you use? Sasuke asked him. Naruto nodded. Yes, there are some other things, I haven't discovered it yet, so even I don't know, since I am the last clan member to possess these eyes, I don't have anyone to teach me, so I guess I will learn it as I go along, Naruto said. Naruto, how did you do the wood clone? Kakashi asked Naruto. These eyes give me control over all the 5 basic chakra natures, and I can combine them to form sub-elemental chakra as well. As a matter of fact, I also have ice release and storm release and many others. It's really cool, he said. Interesting, Kakashi said. This would have to go to the Hokage. Well, I guess we should be heading home. Tomorrow the team reports for our first mission, Kakashi said. Alright, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said, delighted. The team dispersed as Kakashi vanished while the rest of them began walking together back to the village. Sasuke-kun, do you want to go on a date with me? Sakura asked him. Sasuke didn't respond. Naruto saw this and smiled. Sasuke, why don't you just say yes for once? I mean, what can you lose? He asked him. I have to get strong, Naruto, to beat him. I can't waste my time on dates, Sasuke said, which made Sakura look crushed. However, Naruto just smiled. So you still don't know what true strength is, do you? Naruto asked him. Sasuke raised an eyebrow towards him. One of these days you are going to realize what true strength is, and then you are going to stalk Sakura, I tell you that, he said, laughing. Take that back, I will never stalk anyone, I am too good for that, Sasuke said, gritting his teeth. Sakura giggled at the comment Naruto had made. We'll see about that, I am going to Ichiraku's for ramen, Naruto said. Anybody wanna come with? He asked them. There was silence as both of them stared at him. You eat too much ramen, Naruto, Sakura said. It can't be too good for your health, she said. Naruto shrugged. Who cares, I never get sick, he said as he vanished in a sparkle of electricity. Okay, I have to ask him to teach me that, Sasuke said, sounding exasperated. Sakura nodded in affirmation. She wanted to learn that too. Yo, Naruto said to the old man Tuchi as he materialized out of nowhere and caused Tuchi to knock off a ramen bowl that was in his hands and cause a giant mess. Are you crazy, Naruto? The old man asked him. What were you thinking? Did you think it was fun for me, huh? He asked Naruto, who was laughing away. Oh, come on, old man, you know I make up for it by ordering so much ramen, he said, to which Tuchi smiled. That was true, the kid did eat a lot of ramen. So the usual, he asked Naruto, who nodded. Yep. Naruto sat down and began the wait for what he considered was food sent by Kami itself, ramen. He began looking around town. There were some familiar people he recognized, one of which was Rock Lee and his teacher Might Guy. He waved to them, which brought them over to the ramen place. Naruto-kun, Billy said, sounding extremely excited. I am looking forward to a spar with you one of these days. I hope that they are as youthful as every other spar we have ever had, he said. Naruto smiled. The enthusiasm that Lee displayed was contagious. Sure, maybe someday, but Naruto said, before looking at his other 2 teammates. One of them looked like a panda with buns instead of hair, the other one also looked effeminate, thanks to long hair and a girlish presence. However, this was a Hyuga. Naruto-kun, Might Guy said pompously. Meet the other 2 prodigies of youthfulness, Niji Hyuga and Tenten, he said before posing dramatically. Sorry, Guy, Naruto said. Did you say something? He asked him, which made Guy open his mouth and shout what? And then burst into tears that flew from his eyes like they were the great river Nile. Damn you, Naruto, and your hip attitude. Wait, that does not seem right when I say it like that, guy said, before deciding that it was not worth the trouble and smiling anyway. So your teammates, eh? Lee, how do you like your team? He asked Lee, who smiled enthusiastically. This kid did everything enthusiastically. They are extremely youthful. Heiji here is my ultimate rival. I strive to get stronger so that I can defeat him, Naruto-kun, Lee said, smiling. Naruto nodded. I think having an ultimate rival is a great thing, Lee. I am sure you will be able to defeat Neji without any problem, Naruto said. Lee smiled, however, upon hearing this, Neji stiffened. What did you say? He asked Naruto. I said Lee can easily defeat you if he works hard enough, Naruto said to Neji, detecting the tone of Neji's voice and staying on alert. However, Neji did not do anything foolish. He just stepped back and smiled. As if a person who can't even channel chakra defeat me. Fate has dealt Lee the wrong cards, you know. He can never beat me, just like a dead last loser such as you can never beat me, he said to Naruto with a smug smile on his face. Neji, Tenten said in a tone that indicated warning. Guy and Lee were too shocked to say anything. You are a Hyuga, aren't you? Naruto asked Neji, who nodded. No wonder you are so pompous. Well, let me tell you something, Neji, there are some eyes that are better than that byakugan of yours, Naruto said, smiling. Neji snorted. The sharingan is no match dash. Not the sharingan, Naruto said. There is a better dojutsu, but I don't think I will tell someone as meek and lowly as the Hyuga about it, Naruto said. Now it was his turn to wear a smug smile on his face. You dare insult the Hyuga clan? Neji asked Naruto, who simply nodded. I don't care what clan it is, people like you who believe in fate and not even work towards changing it cannot be considered proper shinobi or even human beings, but keep thinking that way, Naruto said to Neji, who was no visibly angry. My sister, Hinata-sama, Neji said, spitting out Hinata's name. Told me about you a lot. She said that you never give up whatsoever and keep trying, but what is the point of trying if you don't even have any talent? You are just a big loser, like my sister Hinata, Neji said. Don't call her that, Neji, Naruto said. Just because she is a good human being who shows compassion, don't you dare insult her. She is 10 times the person you can ever be, Naruto said. The conversation was slowly heating up. Lee, Guy and Tenten did not seem to bother with stopping it. Good human being, eh? Neji said with disgust laced in his voice. We'll see if that helps her become a strong shinobi, Naruto. Naruto smiled. Just like Sasuke, even you are ignorant as to what true strength is, but the day you realize what it is, the giant stick in your ass will automatically be removed, and you will be cured of your sickness, Naruto said. Guy-sensei, Lee, Tenten-san, I have to go. I don't think I can stand talking to such a loser, he said. Of course, you have no clan, your parents probably abandoned you, your mother and father are probably happy that they left a dead last loser behind. I can't see anybody ever wanting you, Neji said. Neji, take that back and apologize, Guy said. He knew Naruto's mother and father, although the kid himself did not know, and he knew that Naruto would find his touchy. It's okay, Guy-sensei, it's alright. I know how my parents died and where they are right now, I know it. But at least they didn't die like Neji's father here, Naruto said. How dare you dash? Shut up. Naruto said, unleashing a wave of ki, upon which Neji paled, even paler than what he actually was. One day I get my hands on you, Neji, and then for insulting my parents, I will beat the living shit out of you. I will take you to an inch of your measly little life and make you wish someone activated that cursed seal on your head, and then, if your fate is good, I will leave you that way, or else. Naruto trailed off, unleashing more ki. Neji was almost paralyzed at this point. Naruto was using some of his demonic chakra, and that was seriously high grade. Killer intent like that was not pleasant for anyone to ever experience. Naruto, I apologize on behalf of my teammate, Tenten said, and the ki receded. Neji breathed a sigh of relief, however he tensed up when he saw Naruto's face and looked into his piercing blue eyes. I meant every word, Neji, you better not ever run into me, ever, he said. Neji snorted, but before he could say anything, he was taken away by Guy-sensei and Lee. Tenten had an apologetic look on her face as she left, bidding Naruto a goodbye. Naruto sighed. He finished what remained of that ramen. The encounter with Neji had put a bad taste in his mouth, and the appetite he had worked up had vanished. He can make wood clones, did you know that, Sandaime-sama? Kakashi asked the Hokage. They were in the Hokage's office and Sarutobi was buried in mounds of paperwork, wondering about how he could possibly escape the punishment that was given to him. Sometimes he wished he had never become the Hokage. Yes, Naruto told me about his ability to combine nature chakras and create the sub-elements. It's very tempting, don't you think? Those eyes of his. We need to keep this hidden for as long as possible, otherwise there might be people, including some on the council itself, that might do something out of jealousy, he finished. I agree, although it was surprising when he used that technique. I was forced to drop my guard down and Sakura stole the bells. That was some fine teamwork. They have potential, Kakashi said. Kakashi, you might be right. Wait for the other jounins to turn in their evaluation results, will you? Let's see if the Ino Shikacho trio and Team 8, the other two teams with potentials mirroring your own team, passed, Sarutobi said. Kakashi nodded. Just then the door opened and Asuma and Kurenai came in, holding hands. Kakashi and Sarutobi both raised an eyebrow when they saw that, and Kakashi giggled while Sarutobi stifled a laugh. Kurenai blushed as she detached her hand from Asuma's and stood away. The public display of affection was not intentional and completely by accident, as even Asuma seemed to realize that maybe that was not the best idea. About time, Asuma the Hokage said. So how did your team do? Brilliant, Asuma said. They realized soon enough that they had to work as a team and Shikamaru has potential. He is just very lazy. Choji is loyal to Shikamaru and Ino is a loudmouth, but when forced, she worked fine with them together. Looks like they had it in their genes to be a good team, Asuma finished. Sarutobi smiled before turning to Kurenai. Oh yes, Kurenai said. Team 8 passed with flying colors. They realized the importance of teamwork. Hinata is a total team player and Kiba might be a hothead, but he is a good person and did what the leader, Shino, asked them to. Shino has the potential to be a strong squad leader. I think we as a whole unit make a fine tracker team, with dogs, bugs and byakugan, Kurenai finished. Good, Kakashi has passed his team too. The other teams have failed, so I guess you are the official rookie 9 of this year, Sarutobi finished. Kurenai was staring at Kakashi, shocked that he had passed a team, but Asuma grinned. The strongest rookie 9 to have come out of Konoha in quite some time, Hokage-sama, Asuma said. Sarutobi nodded. Correct, well, let's introduce them to the joys of D-ranks tomorrow, okay? Sarutobi said. Asuma smiled, so did Kakashi and Kurenai. This was going to be fun. They were looking forward to seeing the reaction of the genin to all the boring missions they would have to accomplish. Okay, that's it, I am fed up of that damn cat, Naruto said. I will kill it and spray its brains all over the wall and feed it to the Inuzuka dogs if I have to catch that thing one more time, he finished before crossing his arms and sitting down cross-legged, obviously sounding pissed off. Naruto, Iruka said, sounding angry, show some respect to the Hokage, will you? You are a genin, you start off by doing some low-rank missions, he said. You are not ready to take on something more serious, he finished. Oh come on, Iruka-sensei, you of all people do not believe that, Naruto said before pouting. This is serious, I am sick of doing those stupid D-ranks, why should I have to clean a fence? Let the people clean their own damn fence, Naruto said. Sasuke nodded while Sakura was looking down, afraid of what the Hokage might say. However, Sarutobi was smiling. I see, Iruka, Naruto wants to prove himself to everyone. He wants to get started on doing serious things right away, he said. It had been 2 weeks since they had been a team and all of them were forced to do menial things such as catch a cat or walk the dogs, and Naruto was getting sicker of it. Today he had reached the breaking point. What do you think, Kakashi, are they ready to take AC rank mission? He asked Kakashi, who nodded. Yes, I think they will do okay on AC rank mission, he said. Sarutobi nodded. Okay, let's see, Iruka, find AC rank mission for our team, will you, he said. Iruka was stunned. Hokage-sama, Iruka said in protest, you can't possibly dash. Trust Naruto, Iruka, Sarutobi said, effectively silencing him. Naruto is strong, he will be fine, don't worry, plus he has to start sometime, right? Yeah, Iruka-sensei, don't worry about me, I am awesome, I will do it, he said confidently. Sarutobi and Iruka smiled. Okay, Iruka said, going through the files on the table in front of him. There is an escort mission to Wave, he said. That should be a nice starting mission, Hokage-sama, Iruka said. Tazuna-san, I think that is a good choice, send him in, he called out as the door opened, and in stepped an old man who was drunk. I know this guy, Naruto thought as he went back to the time he had been in the wave. This was the father of the guy who had lent them a boat to go to the wave. however the details of that mission were a secret, so Naruto did not say anything. Meanwhile Tazuna stared at Naruto but did not recognize him. The guy was drunk then too, he wouldn't have recognized me no matter what Naruto thought. This is good, I can stay hidden, he thought. Alright, so you gave me brats for my protection, how shameful, Tazuna said, which caused Sasuke and Sakura to glare at him, while Naruto just stared at Tazuna. You are too drunk, there is a high probability that the only person we have to save you from is you yourself, Naruto said, which made Tazuna smile. I am Tazuna, a master bridge builder, I am too good for this, I wanted real protection, not stupid kids like you midget, he said to Naruto. Naruto fumed, that was it, Tazuna made fun of his height for the first and last time.